Hello, 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 toneful people. Tuesday, we're here. Awesome. I'm going to take a look at the chat. I see some great people. I'm going to go back through, make sure I don't miss anybody. Amanda was here first, so she wins the prize. I'm not sure what that is, but she wins. Amanda, don't hurt yourself while you're sewing as well. That fusion music that I wrote might cause you to jab yourself, so be careful. All right. We have Amanda, we have Kay, we have Candy, the fabulous Candy, and Kay's always fabulous. I know that. And Wayne is here from the UK, all the way from the UK. I think Audiograph, that's you, Alan, right? And I think you said you were uploading a Frank Zappa video. Very cool. Frank Zappa, very cool. Brian Gerard is here. Let's see. Who am I missing? Am I missing anybody? If I'm missing you, shout out. Shout it out. In the words, oh, Sage, I'm sorry, Sage is here. She's way cool. Sage. Let's see. I'm scrolling. If I miss you, don't hate me. I'll get you eventually. Okay. You poked yourself at least twice, Amanda. Oh, no. Oh, man. Oh, my. Be careful. That song will cause you to jab yourself. Oh, there's my friend Scott. He's here from the West Coast. The Jacksons are here, ladies and gentlemen. Awesome. Okay, so I think I got everybody. If I didn't, say hello again. It's hard for me to scroll. I'm just not a good scroller. So anyway, Gumbi Ortiz is here tonight. He is here, and I love this guy. He's amazing. And I will say this. Now, you guys know I'm kind of a nerd, and I try not to swear and that kind of stuff, So Gumbi Ortiz is wonderful. He's from the South Bronx, and he's fiery, and he's spicy. He's spicy. So you may hear a little bit of spicy language. You just may. So if you have any small children, you might want to plug their ears or something. But no, it's great. I didn't want to change anything about Gumbi because he is so cool. And I think you're going to be so entertained. And I know this. You are witnessing a great, okay? This guy is great, great, great. He's done so many cool things. He has energy like you can't believe. So he's going to be coming up here. I just want to say hello. I see Perry's here. How you doing, Perry? Great to see you. Awesome. Okay, so before we get to Gumbi's, interview, this week had another good week, so I'm going to share it with you. Now listen, I'm sharing this stuff with you guys, and I've been through some stuff. So I'm hoping this is inspirational to you if you're struggling, because I was at a point where I didn't think I had much left in life. I mean, that's how bad I was. So this week, Winter Park went from 92 up to 88 on the Smooth Jazz Network Top 100 chart. A couple weeks ago, I was at 97. Then I went to 92. Now I'm at 88. Spain. I came in last week at 100, and I shot up 17 slots. So I'm very, very excited, and I'm very thrilled. So I'm at 83. Winter Park is at 83. And I'm sharing this with you guys because it's exciting for me. And again, because of where I've come from, it's a real shot in the arm. And I hope that you guys take it as a shot in the arm as well. And know that even if things look dark for you, they can change and you can change them, okay? Also, I'd like to thank quickly Adam Leibowitz. He's been so helpful. Robert McLean, another wonderful and helpful guy. Alan Kepler and Doug Sinclair, both those guys. I thank them so much. So, yeah, that's what's going on this week with Winter Park. So it's still climbing. This is the fifth week. All right. Going to go back to the chat. And I will. Now, listen, as usual, I'll be back after the interview, okay? So I'll be back live with you guys. But I don't want to distract you guys from the great stuff Gumbi has to talk about, because he's awesome. He's awesome. Hey, it's Katie. Katie's here. You're a little late. Well, Katie, I'm not sure when you got here, but my Winter Park song went from 92 to 88 on the Smooth Jazz Network chart this week, and from 100 to 83 on the Spain and Latin America chart. So I'm not sure what else. Other than me gabbing, you didn't miss too much. You missed some great chat, though. Lots of cool people in the chat. All right, so here we go. Couple things. A word from our sponsor. It's me. My store is still open, so I have all kinds of stuff at my Fourth Wall store. Digital downloads, CDs, mugs, t-shirts, guitar picks, all kinds of stuff there. So you can visit that through my website. There's a link that will be in the chat. It's also in the description of every live video, okay? And also, please go to my Spotify and stream away if you could. It's really cool. I have 958 monthly listeners right now. I started at the beginning of this with like 85 people. So pretty cool. It's growing. And there's other stuff on there. There's Live at the Blues Cafe stuff. Stream it all if you can. Okay? And also, I have to tell you who's coming on next week. Coming up June 30th on Toneful Tuesdays, my special guest is the incredible Bobby Floyd. Bobby is a world-class jazz pianist, Hammond B3 organist, keyboardist, band leader, and composer whose music is filled with gospel, jazz, blues, swing, soul, and deep feeling. He has performed with legends including Ray Charles, Dr. John, the Count Basie Orchestra, Doc Severinsen, and many more. He has also appeared with major orchestras and has become one of the beloved musical voices of the Columbus jazz scene. Bobby's playing is joyful, soulful, powerful, and full of heart. Join me for episode 16 of Toneful Tuesdays with my very special guest, Bobby Floyd, Tuesday, June 30th at 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on my YouTube channel. Real quick before we keep going, if you've been enjoying Toneful Tuesdays, I'd really appreciate it if you'd take a second and subscribe to the channel. It's a small thing, but it really does make a difference. It helps the channel grow, it helps more people discover what we're doing here, and helps me bringing you great guests, meaningful conversation, music, and encouragement week after week. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much. And if you're not, I'd surely be grateful for your support. All right, let's get back to it. Okay, so listen, I don't want to gab anymore because Gumbi Ortiz is so cool and I had such a wonderful time with him. So sit back, get your drinks, get your snacks, relax, enjoy. He is unique, he is wonderful, and I'm thankful to call him friend. And I will be back. I will be back at the end of the interview, okay? And I'll see you guys back here live. It'll be closer to 9:30. All right. Friends, this week for episode 15 of Toneful Tuesdays, I'm honored to welcome a truly remarkable and world-class musician, percussionist, Gumbi Ortiz. Gumbi grew up in the South Bronx with a rich musical heritage rooted in Caribbean culture. Surrounded by rhythm from an early age, he developed a deep connection to Latin percussion, Afro-Cuban traditions, jazz, funk, fusion, and world music. Over the years, that foundation became the heartbeat of a remarkable career. Many of you may know Gumbi from his long musical association with legendary guitarist Al Di Meola. For decades, Gumbi has brought fire, feel, precision, and soul to Al's music, performing on stages around the world and helping create that powerful rhythmic energy that is such a big part of the sound. Gumbi's story goes far beyond one musical partnership. He has worked across many styles and with an incredible range of musicians, bringing his unique voice as a percussionist, drummer, composer, producer, band leader, and educator. His playing is not just about technique. It's about groove, culture, listening, and the ability to make rhythm speak. He's also led his own musical projects, including New Groove City and Electric Rendezvous, where he blends Latin jazz, fusion, funk, soul, and world rhythms into something that is deeply alive. What I'm really looking forward to in this conversation is getting behind the music. We'll talk about his Bronx roots, how rhythm shaped his life, what it takes to support a musician like Al Di Meola, the discipline required to stay at that level, and what Gumbi has learned from a lifetime devoted to music. So join me, friends, in welcoming the fabulous Gumbi Ortiz. Well, friends, I am so excited to have my friend Gumbi Ortiz here this evening. Gumbi, how you doing, man?
Oh, man, good to see you. I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. And you look great. I'm doing great, but you look great. So, there you go.
You look great. You're beautiful. You're beautiful.
Oh, I hear my accent.
It's
good, man.
I'm from Pittsburgh, so we talk funny there.
Yeah,
you're from the Bronx.
I'm from the South. Different.
South Bronx.
Yeah.
So in the Bronx, I have a question. So in Pittsburgh, when they say a collective group of people, they'll say yins guys. That's what they say, yins. I think you say yous. You say yous?
Yous, exactly. Yous guys, yeah.
So right. Pittsburgh, it's yins, which is pretty weird, right?
Yeah, I guess. I never studied it, but yeah, I guess it's pretty nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, yous guys.
So if you meet anybody from Pittsburgh and they say yins, you'll know that, they're from Pittsburgh. Also, if you ever hear a person say, "Hey, Gumbi, that guy over there, he's a real jag-off." That's another Pittsburghism, jag-off.
Jag-off, right.
It's kind of like a jerk or, maybe a little worse than a jerk. So if you run into anybody from Pittsburgh and they say that kind of stuff, you'll know right away they're from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm there all the time, but I haven't heard that one because nobody's mad at me yet. You know what I
No.
mean?
One of my friends who's a drummer from Texas was watching a movie with Michael Keaton. It was called Gung Ho.
Right.
And they were supposed to be based in Pittsburgh, and he calls a guy a jag-off in the movie. And my buddy called, and he was all excited because he said, "I heard Michael Keaton call a guy a jag-off."
He studied, right? He studied.
Yeah. So at any rate, I'm from Pittsburgh.
You're close enough to good pizza. You know what I mean?
You bet. There's a lot of great pizza. Yeah. In fact,
for sure.
Well, that's what a lot of people complain about in the South, right?
Right. There's some good here in St. Pete, I have to admit.
Good.
Some pizza, kind of almost like New York. It's not the same thing, not as greasy and stuff like that, but it's getting close. You know what I mean? Because, we take our pizza serious. You know what I mean? So,
you bet. All right. Well, so since we're talking about the South Bronx, right. You were born in the South Bronx, right?
Yes, born in the South Bronx, yes, 100 years ago.
And you had Caribbean roots.
Right, exactly.
How did that mix of culture, neighborhood, family, and rhythm first shape the way you heard music?
No, it's interesting because, when you grow up, there's always Cuban music. And there's always Puerto Ricans playing Cuban music, right? Because that's all salsa is. Salsa is Cuban music done by non-Cubans, either Puerto Ricans or Dominicans, whoever, So it was part of our culture growing up and part of the street. Kind of like maybe even the South Bronx, like rap music, kind of reinvented salsa music or Cuban music in the Bronx. And I think they changed the name from Cuban music to salsa as to not be associated with the political government in the Caribbean island, right? Because, at that time, let's say 1964, nobody wanted to talk about Cuban anything. You know what I mean? So I guess this was a marketing term, very smart one, to somehow combine all of the Caribbean, Dominican, Cuban, whatever, Haitian, whatever it was. It just kind of kept it together. You know what I mean? Like the notion of white people, like in Europe, nobody calls themselves white. They're Polish or they're Italians or they're this and that.
Right.
But they come here and they made everybody white. You know, they kind of united the culture, right? Somehow, you know.
Yeah.
And salsa does that to the music. It unifies it, you know, somehow. Some people are pissed off. No, it's Cuban music. No, it's this and that and all that. Because, you know, Cuba's the big island. No doubt. It's the big island. It rules out there, you know. But we all have the same roots. African, native people, Taino in Puerto Rico, and Siboney or Taino in Cuba and Santo Domingo, those style of Indians, you know. And, of course, the Spanish language. And flamenco music. So that kind of collision of these cultures, quite by accident. You know, it wasn't like they say, hey, let's do this and do this, you know what I mean? Kind of like that commercial. Somebody got my peanut butter and my chocolate, that thing, whatever that was, you know? And so our culture in the Caribbean is like that. Now, Puerto Ricans picked up the flag of Cuban music after the revolution and kind of made it their own, right? They added kind of American R&B with kind of rock and doo-wop, and there was a Latin boogaloo, you know, craze in the 60s. So it evolved, you know, trying to like adapt to the culture in the United States of America. Even in English, there's records that the guys did, like Ray Barretto or Joe Bataan, whatever. They did it in English too. So there was kind of this Latin boogaloo, English, Spanish, and then there was a movement to get the music back to Spanish, back to its Creole roots, criollo, you know, and you know the tres guitar, more Cuban, the horn, you know, whatever, you know. So there was that kind of awakening of the culture in New York that allowed itself, it kind of got stuck there, you know, that kind of son montuno, mambo, that thing got stuck there until maybe even there was some movement with Latin jazz, let's say, or Latin rock. Santana, Mongo Santa Maria, Cal Jader, who was Swedish, you know, go figure. But, you know, there was this movement of fusion and then growing from there, you know. Even jazz was a product of Cuban music with African American musicians, you know, back in the day, even with Duke Ellington, you know, or Dizzy Gillespie, who brought in a Cuban conga player to play in his big band in the 40s. Imagine that. And his name was Chano Pozo. And I think, in my opinion, Chano Pozo kind of reintroduced the African clave to jazz, which eventually became, you know, jazz evolved. If you believe in musical evolution, it became rock and roll. You know, that the Bo Diddley beat, which is his own clave. So all that, you know, it's the same root from Africa, but somehow it was the guys who were delivering came from different places, you know. But Dizzy Gillespie has a big role to do in creating or helping the clave or Afro-Cuban, Afro-Caribbean rhythms grow in the United States. And then Santana came and kicked everybody's ass. You know, he put congas and everything, and everybody went crazy. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, you know, and those are my roots like that. You know, growing up in New York City, but at the same time growing up in the United States, and Motown was an influence, and you know, I mean, it's all makes Gumbi Ortiz, all of it. You know what I mean? Not just one thing. You know,
right.
Even though I love my culture from Puerto Rico, Cuba, whatever, I love it all. There's also the United States, so I love Motown and I love New Orleans and all the things that happen. You know, so I'm not scared to put all the ingredients and shake them up. You know what I mean? And throw it on the table and here we go. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So you know, and I'm proud of that. You know, 'cause that the Bronx or the South Bronx was of course rap music, salsa, hip hop, all that kind of culture, subculture that now is all over the United States. You know, it has a genesis in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Oh yeah.
I mean, now it's all over the place. Of course, you know.
That's so cool. You know, you're such a wonderful player, and I have to say that I've loved having a percussionist in a band.
Right.
There's just some kind of thing with a person like you that can really play that it's crazy. Like even if you're playing a swing, like a jazz swing thing or something, Yeah, and you get a conga player. There's this smoothness that happens. Do you know what you know what I'm talking about?
Right. It makes the music danceable. Believe it or not, with the drum, you know, it makes it danceable. You know what I'm saying? It's supposed to ting tanka ting tanka, which is fantastic. Then you go ting tanka ting pa ding 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 guitar pa ding 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 guitar. You know what I mean? Just makes it danceable. You know what I mean?
It's great. It's great. So
it's kind of like salt on an egg. It makes it taste better. You know?
Yeah, something like that. But
something like that. I'm not a scientist, so you know.
But you're a chef.
I'm a chef, no doubt. Yes. My mom was a chef. You know what I mean? When we were growing up, we had restaurants.
Speaking of, this is off the topic of our first question, but we're recording. I have to tell you, my wife is a big Food Network person.
Right.
And I found a video of you with Bobby Flay.
Go figure. Yes.
We're going to show that video.
Oh,
we're
that's funny.
We're going to show that video.
I think he made fun of my little elbow thing when I was making. We were somewhere in the water somewhere. You know what I mean? That's a long time ago, actually. You know what I mean? You know, when Bobby spelled his name with a small B, now it's a big B, a capital B. But you know, it was back then. He had that show where he went to towns and you know, picked up some guys. I got a call. Hey, you want to be on the Bobby Flay show? I said, who the fuck is Bobby Flay? But no, really, I didn't know. So I gathered my guys. You know what I mean? And they're all Cubans, right? They're all Cubans. And, you know, hey, we're gonna be on the Bobby Flay show, and they had the same question but in Spanish. You know what I mean? ¿Qué coño es Bobby Flay? What the hell is Bobby Flay? It's a cooking show. Don't worry about it. But they're going to take us over here, blah, 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 whatever.
Hi, I'm Bobby Flay, and welcome to Food Nation. Well, today we're in Tampa, Florida, a coastal town where everything revolves around the water, especially the food. And they have some great fish dishes here. We'll see that in a minute. Also, there's a neighborhood here that I think is really undiscovered, where Spanish and Cuban influence prevail. So come along. Tampa is Florida's third largest city. Here, skyscrapers cast their shadow over the busiest seaport in America's southeast. And some of Florida's oldest buildings remind visitors like me of the city's rich Spanish and Cuban heritage. The city is as much on the ocean as any other in the country. With all this water, no surprise they brag about the fishing. We're going to find out just how good it is. We'll also pay a visit to Ybor City, the heart of Tampa's Cuban community. For more than 100 years, Ybor has been home to hand-rolled Cuban cigars, Cuban bread, and traditional foods like paella. We'll also check out how some of the local chefs are putting a modern spin on such older tastes. It's called One World Cuisine. And we've been invited to a seafood cookout on a private island. First, though, Counter Cafe into one of the nation's largest Cuban restaurants. It's delicious. Getting that move down. I got the jerk grouper on here, the grilled asparagus. Jim, what's in that pot again? The asparagus. I even put some of this Scotch bonnet hot sauce on here as well. Kick. We got the mango and corn and black bean salsa. That kind of goes with everything, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
All the fish, the spiciness of it, it kind of chills it out. You got you fry, you grill, you boil, you do it all.
We do it all.
This is not Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, absolutely not.
I hear you.
Where's Marianne?
I don't know. We're still looking for her. All right, everybody. You guys ready to eat?
Yeah.
I'm Bobby Flay. Thanks for watching Food Nation. I want to also thank my man over here, Gumbi Ortiz, and the Latino Project for their awesome sounds down here in Tampa, Florida. Get out there and eat America. It's waiting for you. See you later. Salute. Don't forget the key lime pie. I'm going to check out this crab roll.
You know what I mean? Actually,
Yeah,
Tom
now-
White for Skippers helped me say he set that up for me. You know, to give credit to where credit is due. You know.
Oh, there you go. Great.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think now he has a show called Beat Bobby Flay.
Beat Bobby Flay. Right.
Yeah. You should go.
I will. You know what I mean?
You can you can salt the egg.
All day. With adobo, the Puerto Rican seasoning, no doubt, adobo. You know, we did that at the Columbia too. We did it in Ybor City. When
Yeah.
we filmed that, if I remember correctly, we started some in Ybor City.
Yeah.
And then he talked about Tampa. And then we went to the Columbia, and you know, put the whole crew in there. And there was people eating who were not part of the show, but they were and there we were playing. And it was my band. It was called the Latino Project. Something
Right.
that I did when I would get off the road with Aldi. I had something to do, you know what I mean? Because, you know, nobody would hire me only because they thought I was busy. So I created my own little thing. It wasn't because I wanted to have a band. It was just to keep busy, you know. So I created this thing, and, you know, there were some great players in that band, you know. Guys were out there still doing their thing, you know. So, yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, I think Kenny Walker was playing with you then, wasn't
He
he?
still plays. I talk to him every day. He's my buddy. Yeah, Kenny.
Good. How's he feeling? Is he doing okay?
Doing better. You know, he's going through his trials and tribulations, but you know what? Kenny's got the great fortitude, and I love him to death, and he's my buddy for life. You know what I mean? So, I mean,
I think I saw there was a beach section where you guys were playing on the beach somewhere.
yes.
And I swear it looked like Jeremy Douglas playing
It is
keyboard.
Jeremy Douglas. Funny you bring him up. I love
Okay.
Jeremy too. Yeah. It was
Good.
Jeremy Douglas, Frank Martinez back then playing drums. Jeremy Douglas, Freddie Montes, the Afro-Cuban singer. He was in the band. Who else was in the band? I think that was it. I hope that was. Yeah, I hope I mentioned everybody. You know what I mean? Because you know my memories. I got part timers. So, you know, I forget.
I have it with you.
Yeah. You're like, what the hell was that? You know? Yeah, but that was a good band. You know, they had their own band back then. It was in the 80s. It was called the Q Band. But none to do with
that's great.
Cuba. It was just called the Q Band. And they were doing kind of Latinized jazz fusion. And the drummer called me up, Frank Martinez called me up and said, hey, man, you know, maybe we can help the guys understand the clave better. Montuno, the phrasing, because it's kind of, you got to know the nuances of this music. It isn't just, you know, whatever, you know what I mean? 1, 2, 3, cha-cha-cha. You got to, you know the nuances, you know. So I said, yeah, sure. And so that band used to come out and rehearse in my garage, you know what I mean? And then that band became the Latino Project. I got a gig, and then I added Patrick Bettison on bass.
Yeah, he's great.
No, dude. A genius, you know, and I had him on bass, and so it was, you know, Patrick Bettison and Jeremy Douglas, and you know, blah blah blah, and then Patrick went off to do something else, and then I got Kenny Walker. You know, I called Kenny. I said, Kenny, you know, I'm doing this kind of funkified, whatever. I don't know what I was doing, you know, and he said, yeah, sure, you know, blah blah blah, because he used to come out see us play when I played with Fred Johnson in the early '80s, you know, here in town, in Tampa and St. Pete, you know. And so he was a big fan of whatever I did, and he became a buddy. And I wrote all these compositions. I wrote them, but they were kind of like vehicles for jamming, because I didn't want to have too much structure. You know what I mean? Structure's cool, but I come from people who make huts and pick the mango and were butt naked until Columbus came down. You know, so there's part of me that likes to be more relaxed with the music. You know what I mean? Which is something I had to undo when I started playing with Aldi Meola, who's extremely strict and blah blah. I mean, he's cool, but he's got his competition. Return to Forever.
Well, yeah, I grew up much like you. Not, of course, I'm half Italian and half Irish.
Yeah, that's
so,
what
but I grew up with jazz. A lot of jazz stuff. So even when I did I would call it pop stuff, it was always vehicles to play over.
Yes.
We had extended solos. It
Right.
was, yeah. So I get it.
The thing I loved about Return to Forever was that, Chick, may rest in peace, the genius, American genius, he would write these things with Return to Forever, this complicated thing and it was like 3 minutes of unbelievable composition, and then it went to some jam and E.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And then it went back to the composition, which was like, wow. When I was younger, watching them before I started playing with Al and them, I was like, oh man, this is crazy, to have all this unbelievable composition. But when I made the Latino project, it was going to be the opposite of that. A little bit more relaxed. You know what I mean? Here's the clave, here's the rhythm, let's funk out, let's have a good time. You know what I mean? Life is short, so.
Yes, sir. The improvisational part of it is for me the joy, I mean, I love writing and I want to compose and all that stuff, but that moment of on the spot creativity is hard to beat.
Latino Project, was the king of that. Because I tell you, I wrote these songs. I had 10, 15 songs, and I didn't write any more. We've been playing forever. We still write this. We still play the same songs, but we started off, and it ends up somewhere else. You know what I mean? It's like there's no rhyme or reason. It's kind of like those seeds on a plant that the wind blows and it just goes somewhere. You know what I mean? There's no map. You know what I mean? That we can see. Maybe there is. We don't know. But there's no map. And it just goes on the fur of a dog and it ends up 10 blocks away or whatever. And I love when music does that. And when it does do that, and me and Kenny used to always talk about this, how it was a sensation of joy to see the guys create. You know what I mean? And then when the band transitioned from Latino Project to New Groove City, I changed the name because the personnel had changed and whatever. We still kept the same almost compositions and the same attitude, but the players were stronger. I had Luis Alicea, the drummer, great drummer. He's, unbelievable, right? But now he brings this complicated energy to the improv. You know what I mean? Kenny stayed around. Then we had a bunch of series of different piano players. Aaron Ferrer was the latest incarnation of the piano guys. So they got to learn the heads, that we call the head, And then, but then we had to okay, good luck on the other side of the head. Good luck. Yes. And at the same time, because the music's about dancing. So we were doing this improv and making people dance at the same time. Mm-hmm. It was kind of like... You know what I'm saying? It's like, whoa.
I do know. I structured my own groups that way because I wasn't one of those guys that enjoyed copying solos off a record and playing them note for note. I wanted to play something different every night I played,
Right. Imagine that my voice sounded exactly like whoever, another person. Then I would be, what do you call those comedians that do that? They're impersonators, right? That's what you become as a musician. If you're impersonating whoever it is, Jocko or Chick or Al, you're an impersonator. You got to develop your sound, live and die by your sound. You know what I mean?
That's it. And you have it. You have it.
Yeah, I developed. I don't know if it's from birth or because I'm not that smart, but I know that I developed this sound from the influences that were around me. Teachers, no, stand like this. No, do this like this. Don't sound like this. Don't do this. That kind of thing. Smacking you in the back of the head, which is a lot of that goes around in Puerto Rican families. No, don't do that. So you learn that way, but it's also you develop a personal sound. So I started playing saxophone in school. In fourth grade, I used to play alto and tenor sax, and I was reading and very strict and blah blah blah. And then one day I ended up with some sort of gum disease, kid little thing, and I was bleeding in my gum, and I couldn't play the saxophone. And we were at, I think it's fourth grade or something like that. And I told my music teacher, we were ready to go to those New York had, these contests, whatever they call them in the schools, and I couldn't play. And the teacher was upset because I was playing first tenor. And I said, yeah, but I play another instrument, I told the teacher. What instrument you play? I said, I play the congas, Why would it be, what is that, So I bring him in. My dad helped me bring it into the school, and then I play it. That was like, my teacher said, oh, my God, you could do it like this, because I was pretty good at it at an early age, you know what I mean? Yeah. I had hurt my leg in an accident, and I was home for a while, and that time that I was sitting there that I couldn't move, I just practiced, you know what I mean? Like
there
Bruce Lee, like, what?
Yeah. So I had a question later on about, developing and all that sort of stuff. But, and we're going to talk about some of the technical parts of playing. But what I find great about you and great about the musicians I admire, you're influenced not only by music, but your whole life, right? It's wrapped up in your playing. You have all the influences you have, your lived experiences add up to you. You are Gumbi, and Gumbi is the percussionist, but it's all one thing, man. It's not just, I guess it's the difference between people who have great technique and not that you don't, because you do, but some have great technique and not a lot of heart, and you have all of it. It's hard to bottle that for people, so you can teach people, but I know that when you go out and play, you're very instinctive, correct? It's instinct for you.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking outside of the moment. The moment is the thing. Even when I play with Meola, which is very structured, and we're playing, Senor Mouse or whatever it is, there's part of me that's always looking out the window, ready to make a move, musically, you know what I mean? So, not to disrupt the music, because you know you don't want to do that. Because first of all, you get a dirty look on stage. You know, number one, you don't want those dirty looks on stage. You know, and number two, you just don't want to say things just to say things.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like this conversation, right? You don't want to just, you know, all of a sudden say ice cream candy for no reason. You know what I mean?
Well,
Not part of
I
the
kind of like that, actually.
Yeah. But there's medicine for that.
No, I get it. And that's what's great about you. I try to let younger musicians know, like, you know, some of the secrets to doing what we do. But what I think it boils down to is somebody like you practiced an awful lot. So you have to practice enough that you become instinctive.
Exactly.
So you draw this stuff, and my old friend Curtis Swift, the sax player, he's his thing was he likens it to food. He's great, and he sounds kind of like this. So, hi, Curtis. He'll say, "Hey, Tom, what do you think Michael Brecker likes to eat?" And he means like what he listened to. What did Michael Brecker listen to become Michael Brecker? Right. So Gumbi has heard all these influences, and plus, you grew up. You're the real deal because you lived it. Right? Yeah. You lived those rhythms. You lived that stuff, you know, you had the heritage.
Right. Also, because at the time that I was growing up, there was also a social awakening of Caribbean people, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Dominicans, and whatever. There was an awakening of who are we? What are we doing in America? So we speak English, but we started speaking Spanish, blah, 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 where we have skin tone. My grandfather is black. My grandmother is light looking, because over here they separate. It's weird what they do in America, you know. So for us, it was like this. Okay, we have to find who we are in this kind of unorganized, weird mess in the United States of America, you know. So the music helped along the way as we learned the roots of our music, which is based in Africa. That's the foundation. The rhythm is based in Africa. So you have to accept that, right? You have to, you don't go against it, and you always knew this, but as you start like looking for your roots, you say, oh, this is all Africa, because you're playing the drum. You know what I mean? So once that happens, then you start digging deeper in the deep dive, like they call it now in the internet, you know. But that happened to us in the 60s and 50s, you know, where you go to the deep dive, you know. So you realize, oh my God. Then while you're diving, you realize that there's part of this Afro-Cuban culture that the way they pray to the gods, let's say, has everything to do with drums and chanting, not in Spanish, not in English, but in Yoruba, or some form of the language of the Yoruba people who were brought over, you know, in these ships that ended up in the Caribbean. So this thing the more you dive, the deeper it gets, the more, not complicated, because it's a beautiful thing, you know? Yeah. Once you put that microscope on and you start looking, you know, it's like taking something real tiny and magnifying it. You go, oh my God, there's all this beauty in this thing that I had no idea. Because, you know, you're growing up American. You know, there's nothing wrong with growing up American. But when my parents, they're like immigrants, right? So I didn't speak English when I was a kid. I spoke English in the 3rd grade, maybe. Until then, I was sitting there like, you know, I didn't understand one thing, but you learn. You learned it from Tom and Jerry cartoons, from from TV shows, you know what I mean? Ed Sullivan and this, or whatever the hell it was, because I'm an old man. So, you know, all that makes who you are, that process of going through that. And then learning the music, it wasn't like, you know, you sit down and go, taka, 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 taka. It's around you. You hear that. You know what I'm saying? And then you play that because you hear it. And then you get some guy who knows better than you and tells you, it corrects you. You remember the old days with the radio, with the knob? So you want to see 88.2, but you got to keep going until the station hits where it sounds clear. But you got to do the same thing as a human being, and culturally. You go, okay, yeah, Puerto Rican, okay, oh, the Cuban thing, the American, black, the Beatles. that you're trying to fit into this cultural mess, you know what I mean? And you could not give a fuck, actually, and say, hell with it, I'm gonna do whatever, I'm gonna, whatever, But if you care a little bit, it's a wonderful path, you know what I mean?
It is. It is. I am a big fan of the melting pot of music. I love all of the influences, and my record collection is very eclectic. My wife will tell you I have a lot of CDs and vinyl and stuff, and it's all over the place. I mean, I love music, period, and I love all of the different influences and all the cultural influences. Right. And you know what? While we're on this subject, I never, ever could figure out what causes people to be racist. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I mean, your skin may be darker because you were closer to the equator. I mean,
it's like having a big nose.
Lot more sun. Right?
Yeah. It's a physical attribute having to do with your geography, nothing else. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I think what happened, especially in the Caribbean, because we were the test run for this new world slave thing, right? We were the test run, right? Let's kill some of the Indians, bring in the Africans. We were the test run. So what happens is that when you have to devalue something so you could make it into something that you want. You know what I mean? It's a weird thing. Like if you buy a puppy, if you let that puppy go do whatever it wants, you can't have that in your house. So you have to somehow break the puppy spirit, but still make it a puppy. And maybe it's a bad analogy, but that happens to human beings. And you still see it now where they had to break the spirit of an African to make them do these things that were not natural to them, right? They were just whatever, chilling, whatever, life, whatever, however it was. So I'm the end result of all that. And we had to find ourselves where everybody throwing shit at you. You know what I'm saying? Don't speak the language, don't play that rhythm, don't do this. So for us to see a guy like Bad Bunny, let's say, or Santana, or James Brown, or to see whatever just come up from the ground like that and just spread that joy, because that's our culture is about joy. My dad used to say that our biggest gift as Caribbean people is the ability to find joy under any circumstance. That's our gift. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. In fact, you have a video up on your Facebook of a house party.
Oh, yeah.
It's the greatest thing. It's just so great.
Or something like that. Or whatever.
It's so great. You're playing and there's a guy that's singing and you guys are gathered around an island, in your kitchen.
Yes.
I said to my wife, I want to be there right now.
Yes. And the main thing was that the food was amazing that day because, we cook like that every day here. It's not like it's only on Mondays or Wednesdays. My house's food is like that. It's the most important thing. You know what I mean? So, that's funny you brought that video up because I remember that day. It was my friend Eduardo who was doing the singing. Eduardo Villa, he had just cut his hair. I think he just went bald. You know what I mean? We're making fun of him, So, yeah.
It's really cool. And that's the thing. I love that. I just love it because you guys are family.
It's spontaneous joy.
Yes.
Yeah. It wasn't like, okay, at 3:00 we're gonna be joyful. You know what I mean? It just happened. The food is good, blah blah blah, and then there's a little bit of alcohol, and there's a little bit of this, joking, making fun of each other, and blah 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 blah. No, it's really a beautiful thing, and I think all cultures have that. It ain't just me. You know what I mean? Everybody has that,
Right.
But we lose it chasing this thing that we chase in America. You know what I mean? This I don't know what it is. You know, it's either money or that dream that means nothing to me. You know what I mean?
Get it.
Joy
You know, it's a crazy thing. And especially now, I think it's harder than ever, right? I think things are tough. I mean, if you don't have a lot of money, everybody's just kind of getting by with the gas is up, food's up, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the thing is, those things aren't the things that are going to bring you joy anyway.
Exactly.
What you guys had in your kitchen that day, that's the real stuff. That's the real stuff.
Exactly.
And as they say, I never saw anybody back up a Brinks truck to a funeral. You know, you don't take anything with you. All your accumulations, you know, the things you've accumulated and all the wealth or belongings, you don't take a thing, right?
And also, we only live for great moments, right? For moments. It's not like every day is just, every day is this day. It doesn't do that, you know. Our bodies and brains need to rest, and, you know, heart resting rate or whatever, you know, everything. Sometimes you need to chill and relax and think about things or not think about things, whatever it is, and then move on from there, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, but I'm ecstatic about how my life went, you know. I'm not because it's all that perfect, right? You know, I got trials and tribulations like everybody else, you know. But within the trials and tribulations, I think we find joy, moments of joy, which we live for. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay, no, it's all good. Okay, now back to work, whatever that work is, whatever it is, you know, whether it's practicing or building a house or not building a house or going to the store, whatever it is, you know. So, yeah. Life.
Well, I can tell you this. I've seen you perform. I check out your stuff all the time, and you bring people joy, Gumbi. You bring it, man. So God bless you.
Thank you for saying that, but I think people are receptive because they want joy. You know what I mean? You know, like how magnets attract each other because they both have that same end. They go. So I bring my, you know, whatever magnet to their whatever magnet. You know what I mean? At that moment, and it clicks. Whether it's the music or the antics, because part of being an entertainer is antics of sorts. You know what I mean? And but my goal was never to. When I was a kid, I loved music. It had nothing to do with making a living. None of it had to do with making a living. It all had to do with just joy. The sound of the drum. I used to be a kid walking in the streets in the Bronx, and back in the day, in the 60s, you would hear drummers drumming in the street. And I would take my dad. My dad was driving. Dad, take me in Spanish. Take me over there to where, you know, these guys, where I hear the sound. We would drive one-way streets and go into whatever. We find the drummers, you know what I mean? And I would sit there and just mesmerized by the sound in their faces. They were so serious, but they were joyful at the same time, you know. And I was like, oh, I love this, you know, this thing, whatever's going on here, you know what I mean? I loved it, you know. So I wanted that. It wasn't about playing with any bands, and I wanted that, you know. And I find that here in my studio, I find that playing with my friends, I find that, you know, wherever I find it, you know what I mean? It's not when I do music for work, whatever it is, whether I was back in the 80s with Fred Johnson or did this or whatever, or when I'm in town now and I play with the Black Honky Band, with Phil, Brother Phil, or they have their own joyful thing, and I look for that joy and try to bring my joy to that thing. You know, we're not trying to, or any band, we're not trying to do whatever, you know. I was just fortunate that in my travels and life, I ended up with Meola, you know. What the hell is that about? You know what I mean? I wasn't looking
since we're there, before I ask you this, I want to say that you are a great instigator of joy. You are, man. Looking for that. Just to be around you is a blast. You really are. So,
because it's all about energy. You know, I always have this conversation with my friends, you know, about what anybody called the God particle, right? What is that God particle? And then it becomes, the religions and this and that and that. And I always tell them, no, man, that particle is energy. And it was this thing, and whatever made that thing go like this and go like this and do this and expand and grow and big, whatever that was, we're a part of that. And that was energy. It wasn't this, it wasn't sadness, it wasn't this, it wasn't joy, it wasn't nothing. It was just energy for the sake of energy, like the sun. You know what I mean?
I do. I just had a conversation with my last guest, Tom Hemby, who's a great guitar player from Nashville. And, you know, I will say I'm religious. I'm a Christian.
Right.
So I do believe, for me, I believe there's God. But I said that I believe God gave us this gift of music on this earth, and that music is all about a transference of energy. It's all,
Absolutely.
you put it out, and it's amazing that when you put out what you put out and it goes to the audience, man, it comes back to you in spades, doesn't it? It just comes back like,
right.
And
you know,
it's that give and take all night long.
It's funny, when remember you were a kid, you get take a bath and you would create waves in the bathtub, you know what I mean? And you move like this and the wave come up and it'll come back and splash you. You know what I mean? From your movement like this, you know what I mean? And
That's
the
it.
earth does that. I mean, it's pretty incredible, you know? So to be a
Really
small part of that whatever this energy is, whatever it is, you know, I find it humbling. You know, I never take it for granted, you know, because we're just here for 5 seconds. You know what I mean? And I want to, make sure that I spend it wisely. Because we could spend it however we want, you know what I mean? Whatever, you know.
You're spending it very wisely, and I'm going to move on from there because we brought up Al Di Meola, and Al Di Meola is just tremendous. How did you hook up with Al Di Meola?
You know what? It's all an accident, actually. It was all. I was here in town in 1985, whatever, 87, whatever. I'm playing with Fred Johnson. Great band, you know, doing all the great things in town. And then I was having a little bit of trouble in my first marriage. And a lot of it had to do with playing in clubs and not making enough money, you know, the typical shit, you know. So I decided, I think it was in 86, somewhere around there, that I may stop playing music and dedicate myself to my children. I had 2 boys at that time. And so I decided to go to Europe. I'm going to go to France, I said. I went there, I got a ticket. I mean, like a madman, you know. I had $100 in my pocket.
Wow.
I'll be right back. And I said, I'll be back. I gotta think about myself real quick. So I did something that's out of the box for me. You know, I'm like a third world guy. You know what I mean? Family, church, you know, whatever. You know what I mean? And so I did. And I went out there and I landed, and there I was. I didn't know where the hell I was. And I went from Paris. I wanted to see the Mediterranean, and ended up in Cannes, the south of France. And I got about $60 left. I found a hotel room with the beds like this, you know what I mean? It's all fucked up, you know. Anyway, and I'm eating bread with ham, you know what I mean? Jambon, I learned that real quick, you know. And it was cheap, you know what I mean? And it was the franc back then, not the euro, you know, in the 80s. Anyway, I'm walking the streets, and blah, blah, blah. Little did I know there was a big music festival or meeting called Meedem in the south of France. And I never heard of Meedem. Of course not. I'm a local guy playing conga. What the hell do I know, you know? And I go, Meedem. I go, you know, we look it up and blah, blah, blah. We, I mean, meaning whoever was there who didn't know. And I said, this is it was an acronym for like an international musical thing where record companies and musicians come to show their records, and it's still going on. It's the biggest record selling thing ever, Meedem, anyway. So I get there, I go, oh man, there are all these musicians and people, and what do I know, right? You know. So I walk down, you know, on the promenade of the sidewalk in the Mediterranean. And there was this theater, fancy French theater, you know. And it said, tonight, Al Di Meola. And I was a big Return to Forever fan. I said, I gotta go, you know what I mean? So I get in line, get the ticket, they were cheap, you know, blah, 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 you know. And so I go. And I get in there, I get my ticket. I'm sitting up way high, and Al comes out, plays solo guitar, amazing, just amazing. Acoustic guitar, amazing. You know, it's got a big sound. Al has a sound.
Yeah.
And then about 25 minutes into the show, he brings out some percussionists, some Brazilian percussionists to play some music with him. It was all improvised. And they played, and he played this rhythm thing, you know, and they played together. It was okay, you know. I wasn't totally impressed by them, but, you know, I'm New York. I'm not impressed by nobody, you know. So it was good. I left the theater. That was it. I just, you know, before they finished, I left because you had to catch a train to get back to Paris. I can get back to the Gaulle airport and get back to New York, you know, and then take a flight back to Tampa, you know. So I left and blah, blah, blah. I had about $30 in my pocket, so I knew I was able to catch a cab when I got back to Tampa back there, you know. So, and I did, then I saw the band and blah, blah, blah. I didn't think anything of it, you know. And I came back home and I told my wife then, you know, I said, you know what, I did it. I went out and blah, 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 and, you know, let me just go back to work and we try to work it out, whatever, because we're just kids in a way, you know. A year to the day that I did that, came back from Europe, I'm playing in a place called Scallops with Fred Johnson, you know. And playing, doing my thing with 5 drums, you know, whatever the hell I was doing. And Jim Reichel, the owner or the manager, whatever he was over there, he was the owner of BB Joe's, or manager. He was putting on a show in town, but he showed up to the club. And he comes and tells me, somebody wants to meet you. I said, meet me? Who wants to meet me? He goes, it's Al Di Meola. Al Di Meola. I said, what the fuck's he doing here? Jesus Christ, you know. So we finished the show, and I was doing, of course, the Gumbi show, which I did all the time, showing off, whatever, you know. Look at me. So I get in there, they introduce me to Al, and I say, hey, man, you know, he goes, dude, he said, man, he looks at me and goes, what are you doing here? This little club in the middle of nowhere, you know, because he was there to do some show that Jim Reichel was producing. I said, well, you know, making a living, you know, happy as shit, you know, making a living, you know, having a drink, whatever. And we sat down. He was from New York area, so we had the same sense of humor, making fun of everybody, blah, blah, blah. He goes, well, listen, I'm playing tomorrow night. He says, you know what, why don't you come and play with me, sit in with me, you know? I said, oh, man, that'll be great. You know, I'm like, you know, I just, and I told him the story about Paris and seeing him. He goes, oh, my God, it's strange, blah, blah, blah. So the next day we rehearsed together, you know, like early on the day before the show. We played about 2 songs, and that was it. And we just, you know, because he plays like a conga player in terms of rhythm.
He's real strong rhythm.
Yeah. Oh, dude, you know, I didn't know it then. I know now, 100 years later, you know, but it was really strong, you know. So we played and we had a great time. The audience went crazy. Al Di Meola, you know. And, you know, blah, blah, blah. I say, hey, thank you, it was great, blah, blah, blah. And I came home to my wife and I said, oh, man, I think I did it. I did what I wanted to do. Somehow, you know, not meeting him in Europe or seeing him in Europe, and somehow whatever is in charge or whatever, there it is. And I was happy. You know what I mean? I was content.
Yeah.
You know, and I was living very, very humbly, to be honest. You know, living in a small little apartment right in front of MacDill Air Force Base. Like, here was MacDill Air Force Base, and this is my house, you know what I mean?
Wow.
So you could get planes starting up, and, you know, I mean, it was that kind of life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not easy, but happy, but not easy, you know? So, and I wasn't looking to anything in my life. I didn't have goals, these lofty, I'm going to graduate from this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to play this gig. Everything was a hustle. I was trying to eat. And I was good at this, so I ate like this.
I understand.
You know, if I was good at car mechanics, I would have been a good car mechanic. But I was good at this, and I hustled it. There wasn't no callings and no, you know, I didn't hear the harps and none of those romantic things. I was a conga player. You know what I mean? From the Bronx, you know. You know, and I say that, but I wasn't lowering myself. I was just being realistic about what I was doing. You know what I mean?
You know, there's no coincidences. Now, what would be the chance that you see him in Paris and you're thinking, I know you were thinking, I could be doing that gig. right?
I did do it, yes, but I wasn't pissed off. But I
No,
you know,
but you thought when you heard it, you were like, I could be doing that.
you're 100% correct. I did think
And
that.
he walks into the club you're playing.
Yeah, yeah.
No
It's like,
coincidence.
yeah, yeah.
No
It was
coincidence.
really, really, heady. But then, we did it, and about 3 or 4 days later, my phone rings. There was no cell phones back then, now it's 1987, right? Cell phones. So we had a big, I pick it up, It goes, hey, Gum. I said, Gum? I said, who the hell is this? Nobody called Gum, He goes, me, Al. I said, Al who? He said, Al de Meola. Oh, what's up, buddy? What you doing, man? Oh, man, we had fun the other night, blah, 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 blah. Hey, listen, what are you doing Thursday, whatever the date is? I go, nothing. Why? What's going on? Because I thought he was calling because he left something at the club or something, and that's what my brain was thinking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It goes, okay, you know what? Hey, listen, I'll see you Thursday. Peter Schukat will call you up. It was his manager. Also, Miles Davis's manager at the time. I didn't know any of this. Peter Schukat is going to call you up. He'll fill you in. I'll see you on Thursday. Okay, bye. Click, clack, clack. Like that. There's no auditions, no nothing, you know what I mean? Peter called me up, he had this New York Jew voice, you know what I mean? I don't mean that sparingly, hey, come, how you doing? Al says he loves you, he saw you play, you have a great energy, and yeah, wasn't, okay, great. It was good, you got your passport, blah, 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 send it to me, we're going to send it to Miami, blah, blah, blah. We'll see you in Istanbul, Turkey on Thursday, we'll see you in Istanbul, take care of yourself. You know the music, right? I said, yeah, sure, bullshit, I didn't know nothing, like that.
That's tremendous. It's tremendous. But Al knew what he was hearing.
Yeah, I think we had a simpatico. You know what I mean? That because of my upbringing, my rhythm, and he loved Caribbean music, Afro-Caribbean, Afro-Cuban, Afro whatever. He loved it all. You know what I mean? He used to be a kid and go to the Latin clubs in New York, and his whole career. After Return to Forever, his thing as a solo artist started off with percussion with the great Mingo Lewis, the late great Mingo Lewis. And, Mingo brought this fire and this thing, and I may have reminded him of that. You know what I mean? From 1977 and 78, whatever that was, when he had the band with Steve Gadd and, Anthony Jackson, may rest in peace, and Mingo, that whole thing. You know what I mean?
Was that band, that wasn't Stuff, was it?
No, it wasn't Stuff. It was the
what were they called?
No, it wasn't Stuff. But those are the guys that everybody was using in town right back then.
Yeah.
These guys, they're the cream of the top. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Eric Gale. I always loved Eric Gale.
Right, Eric wasn't part of that, but he was part of Stuff. You know what I mean? You go,
right.
These guys were all tremendous. But even though I am, while I was flying to do this thing, it was a little bit surreal because these were not my goals in life. It's not something I didn't want. It wasn't something I want. It was like thrust upon me like a gift. You know what I mean? Like somebody says, hey man, it's a brand new car. For what? Oh, your name came up and some blah, 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 blah. You're like, what? What does that mean? You know what I mean? And I would ask the New York person, does it come with gas? It's already filled up, you know what I mean? But it was like that, And then I always tell people that I was lucky for whatever reason. 30 plus years later, I wasn't lucky. I worked hard at that gig, I learned.
That's the thing. A door opened.
Yeah.
You walked through it and you were prepared.
I was prepared. Yeah.
Had you not been prepared, back out the door.
Yeah, no, but I was prepared mentally, no doubt, and spiritually, yes, and whatever to take on that task. But you still have to sit down in that hotel room, learn the music. There's nuances that you can't trust your instincts, because that music is written out and it's very complicated. And those guys are geniuses. I am nowhere near that level of the way they think. You know what I mean? I'm rice and beans and fried chicken. That's me. I'm real comfortable right there. You know what I mean? But these guys were, Al and Chick and Stanley, and these guys are, dude, let me tell you, you know what I mean? Like that front line for those football teams, those guys are ready to kick your ass, you know what I mean? And then it's not a mean thing, but you got to be, ready. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
No, you do, and you were, and I agree with you. You play that music all the time because Al's music, it's complex and it is very composed.
Way complex, yes.
Yeah. So
Not
it's
moments of improvisations, but that's the easy part. The
Right.
hard part is learning the breaks for Senor Mouse or whatever, or Al's composition, whatever, these things, these odd bars and this thing, and trying to fit this Afro-Cuban Caribbean instrument into that. Because
Right.
it was easy in the 70s because they were, Santana was in vogue, and so everybody was having percussion, and Al came in, he was nuclear Santana. He wasn't just Santana. He was nuclear. It was like, whoa. When I first heard those records, his solo records, forget about the Return to Forever stuff, was kick-ass.
Right.
Chick was a master composer, But Al's solo stuff, which now we play in the show, it's always heady to me, you know what I mean? We start playing, I'm there on stage, going, man, I remember listening to this thing when I was like a nothing guy, and here I am, it's heady. I will not, deny
I'm sure.
that. You know what I mean? And it's a real proud thing because I didn't, like I said before, this is not my goal. It wasn't like, okay, and then because it wasn't. I didn't want to be this, or wasn't looking to be that. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, here I am. You know what I mean? And and I took it in stride because I could have been overwhelmed. You know what I mean? Yeah, but my dad used to always say to me, you know what? If you drink all the water you're going to drink in a year, in one day you're going to drown.
Right.
Take it easy, but shit. And I did that. Learn the music, learn Al, understand. Even though we had simpatico, we still had to create things. And Al's always innovating because he's in the business of selling tickets and making music. So he had to create things. He's not resting on his laurels.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's his thing, that kind of European American thing, build the tallest building and do this and climb the highest mountain and that's what they do. I don't do that. I'm good. You know what I mean? I'm good waiting down here at the foot of the hill. You know what I mean? You finished yet? You know what I mean? No problem.
Well, I think you're more than that because you have been a right-hand man to him for quite a while now, Yeah,
when I helped him get musicians in the band, I kind of, he's from, I remember we were doing a show, 2014, 2015, and he was having problems with some of the guys in the band and blah, blah, blah. And in 2014, I decided to make a rehearsal band kind of this music that we play with Al. And I said, I figured I'd call it Electric Rendezvous. And I'll get Electric, and I got Louis, who was playing drums with me in New Groove City, or Latino Project. And then it was Justino Walker and LaRue Nicholson's on guitar, and Justino Walker.
I love LaRue.
Yeah, oh my God. And I had Elias Tona on bass. So
I know Elias, actually, Peter Mongaya.
Another great, yes.
When I was down, he sure is. And when I was down there, Peter had me come over and do a little bit of teaching at his place.
Yes.
And Elias was there. And what a nice guy. He's a great player and just a beautiful guy.
No, he's the best. He's a humble, genius player. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he is.
So I put the band together with these great musicians, and I promised them nothing. I said, you know what? No, we got a gig on Thursday. I said nothing. We're going to spend whatever time. Here's the song. Let's learn this music. And when we learn this music, then maybe we'll decide if we're going to do something with this. So I got LaRue and Justino. These guys play their asses off. And they still do, right? I mean, Jesus Christ, they're really great. And it wasn't easy because we had, this music. I knew it, because I've been doing it so long. Now it's 2015. And we went in we had this little studio called New Groove City Complex, it was named after the band, Kenny Walker's place. And we rehearsed there, and rehearsed, and rehearsed. For a year, we rehearsed. After the year, we got an invitation to play in the Kaluga Jazz Guitar Festival in Russia. I told the guys, you guys got passports? We had a rehearsal. I said, you guys got passports? I did to them what Peter Shuka did to me. I said, you know what? We're going to go to Russia. No, really, it was fucking fucking incredible. We did a couple of local gigs to get warmed up, and then bam, we flew to Russia. You know what I mean? Crazy, just nuts.
That's
So,
wonderful.
you know, it was beautiful, you know. And, you know, I remember sitting in the back, and there's LaRue, you know, looking around going, what the hell is going on here? You know, what are we doing here? But it was fun, you know, because it was, they played their asses off. The music sounded great. I was real proud of the band. And, you know, when Al had his musician problem, I told him, I said, listen, you know what? I got a bunch of guys that can play this music. All you got to do is take you and plug you in to this thing. Oh, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I said, yeah, man. These guys can play. You know, they're not famous or they whatever, but, you know, they've been, you know, I've been instructing them, and, you know, and Al's probably looking at me going, what, learning music from you? You're a monkey from the Bronx. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? So I said, no, really. I put them together. We work hard, you know, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, they got, Louis and Elias were able to audition. We went down to Miami and auditioned for Al because we had a tour and we had no musicians. And these guys were already playing the music because we spent a year doing this stuff. Anyway, luck, fortune, whatever would have it, they made the band, and then we were touring for about 3 or 4 years into whatever, even longer than that. You know, I don't remember because I'm an old man. But, you know, it was to me, it was joyful that I was able to help young guys achieve that level of musicianship. Now, it's not easy. I'm not going to sit here and lie that, you know, Al's he's a complicated dude, you know. That kind of genius is not he's, you know, he's serious, right? He's gifted, good looking, Italian, you know, all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, but you know, he trusted me, and you know, then I brought in some more guys, you know, Evan Garr on violin. I brought Evan Garr into the band, you know, to help out because Al, you know, he needed another. And forget it, now Evan's playing with Stanley Clarke, touring with Stanley. So you know what I mean? So there was this, I felt proud that I was able to, you know, because I didn't want this for me. I could care less, you know what I mean? Really, it's like, you know, I'm done with it. I'm good cooking and staying at home and walking the dog. But, you know, I was given this gift, and it'd be stupid of me to just hold on to it. It's mine, it's all mine, you know. And it wasn't about that. So I was able to help Al, who was in a tight situation, help young kids who, you know, who got an opportunity to go to the next level, whatever that level is, you know. So, you know, I'm pretty proud of that, you know. I'm pretty proud of that. Really.
And you should be. There's also, though, a great chemistry with you and Al. Like when you just see the two of you guys play together, you really, you seem to really know each other really well at this point, you know?
Yeah. I think what happened that we, like that simpatico we had back in 1987, whenever it was, you know, that has also evolved into, from simpatico to a friendship, to I trust you, to, you know, like, you know what I mean? You know, like, let's go do this and don't worry about it. You know what I mean? I remember one time, you know, 'cause we would do a lot of duet things, acoustic things, just me and him, just for fun. You know, he needed whatever money, he would do it, you know? And we were in some place in Texas and some weird, you know, because we played all over the place. And some guy, some drunk guy came up, oh, you guys sounded great, and gave, you know, Al, he gave him $1,000 tip, you know what I mean? You know, it's like, we're laughing, and that way Al took $1,000 and said, here, take it, you know? He gives it to me, even though we were getting paid, you know, but just to show that his generosity, you know what I mean? Even though he's hard, he's not, because, you know, like, you don't become the New York Knicks, or you don't become whatever, because everything is, you know, roses and all that shit. You know, he's hard, but he's not a, you know.
You can tell he's a serious guy, and he would be a taskmaster, you know? He has to,
If Al doesn't have his guitar on him, he's in the bathroom. He's always got that thing on him, or a pick, you know what I mean? He's always thinking, he's always doing whatever, you know? And look, and it's a source of pride for me, you know what I mean, to be associated with Al. At some point, you know, if Al was Batman, I definitely was Robin, you know what I mean?
You are.
Because we were so, you know, close like that, you know? So, but it's like I said, it's a source of pride for me, that I was able to not only hang, but be there so long and develop a friendship and then help out young artists, because it's hard for artists right now.
Yeah, it's very hard.
To get to any kind of level. Forget about the Meola, John McLaughlin level. Forget about that. It's wrapped up already. You know what I mean? Now everybody's got to climb that mountain butt naked in the snow. Everybody.
It's hard.
I mean?
Yeah.
No, it's hard as all hell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Back in 2014, I started producing a friend of mine, Alan Carmen. I don't know if you know Alan.
I know the bass player. Yeah. Great bass player.
A great bass player. So, he stopped playing to go become a lawyer and make a lot of money. And then one day we were doing a gig with Bob McCarr, may he rest in peace. I used to play with Bob all the time. He was my buddy. He was the only one that called me Gamaliel, my real name. He would, Gamaliel, he would call me up, and I knew it was Bob. Okay, what do you want me to do? He would call me up when he'd do these weddings, and they needed, this percussion break in between the songs to keep the wedding people dancing. And there I was, Muscle Joe. Bing back, ding back, ding back, ding back, ding back, ding back. So anyway, Bob, we had a great time together. He passed away, and I miss him dearly, But I did a show with Alan, and, Alan was like, lamenting his choices in life, even though he was successful as a lawyer, about the music thing. And we were talking about the guys from the Electric Rendezvous, and blah, blah, blah. He said, oh, man, you did good, you helped them, and blah, blah, blah. And, so I said, Alan, you know what? Why don't we do a song for you? Record a song, see if we can get it on the radio, something, because he's very talented. Plays that stuff, actually. So I called my friend Felipe Sace, great piano player. Felipe Sace, play with everybody from the Rolling Stones, just everybody, Miles Davis, whatever. Felipe Sace. And we're touring together with Meola, I said, Felipe, I got a guy, and I think, what, he's got funding, we can make a song, do that, blah, 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 put him on the radio, whatever. Anyway, we did it. We put it together, we put the band, we got some great guys to play on it, and, some top level dudes, because, Felipe knows everybody, you know what I mean? And we made the Alan Carmen project, and we took a nobody bass player, great bass player, but nobody knew who he was, to Alan Carmen, and he got songs on the radio, and he did this, and we went on tour, and we had Mark Antoine play guitar with us, and we took a 4 or 5 city tour, played on, we took it from nothing to something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, Alan's a great player, and I still see stuff that's happening now. You guys just did a tune not too long ago.
Well, we just did a song now that's released tomorrow. It's called Fine and Dandy. I co-wrote it with Alan, and we mixed it, and we did our little thing, and so we're gonna see how that goes,
Awesome.
But Alan's a great guy, and he's become part of my umbrella of expanding, helping artists achieve a little bit of those, because it's hard to achieve those dreams if you don't have somebody helping you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so and I don't promise success, but I do promise a good time.
That you'll have for sure with you.
Yeah, a good time, no doubt. And the music will be fun, So
well, there was a tune before that.
Who played on it?
Mike MacArthur.
Yeah, Joy Jam.
Okay, Joy Jam.
Yes,
Great tune. Great tune.
Yeah, great tune. That was Felipe Sace who did that. Whatever he touched, he's like Midas, So we put together a band of all the guys from town. My drummer Luis Alicea and Carmelo Medina on guitar from the
great player.
From the Venezuelan group Guaco. Listen to Guaco, the unbelievable shit. And then, anyway, they live here, and so we put that whole band together. Kenny Anderson, who plays on everything I write, because he's, Jesus Christ, he's something else, you know what I mean? And, Mike MacArthur, of course, who's now playing with Gino Vanelli.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He got the Stardust too, which is fantastic, And, we just put the band together and we did a video and Philippe came down, we did, whatever. And it's a great tune. Yes. Well done. Well recorded, So I was happy about that. Yeah, Joy Jam. Exactly.
Well, I can't wait to hear the next one that's coming out.
Yeah, Fine and Dandy. He'll be out in a second. You know what I mean? Yeah, he'll be out in a second.
Fine and Dandy. I can't wait to hear it.
Fine and Dandy. My life has been interesting, to say the least.
You have had a great life. You've had a great life.
Yeah, and it got better when, after I got married again, you find, my first wife was a great person. We just, when you're young and, stuff like that happened. Then I found my wife, Yvonne, who's, I don't know how I found that. She's like this beautiful lady, you know what I mean? I always say that she felt sorry for me or something, you know what I mean? Like those little dogs and shit that you pet,
I'm in a similar situation. I always say that my wife got the booby prize. I don't know.
Yeah.
I tell people she was like temporarily insane when she married me.
No, exactly. Right. The glasses were foggy or something, you know what I mean? But, and then my life changed after that, too. You know what I mean? So we had a daughter who now she's 23 and ready to get married and blah, blah, life. You know what I mean? And so, good things continue to happen for all the right reasons. Not good things in spite of things. Good things for all the right reasons. You know what I mean?
That's great. Now, so how important do you think it is to have your wife? How important is that?
No, it's everything. It's 100%. Otherwise, I'll be a rag. You know what I mean? I'll be a rag with talent, with like talent that never did anything with it. You know what I mean? And not just musical. It could have been talent to do anything. You need somebody to everybody needs somebody to kind of put them in line. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I don't, discipline and a reason, give them a goal, give them all this stuff. Otherwise, you just, hang from a tree eating, a banana. You know what I mean? And that's cool too. But you know what I mean?
I understand. Yeah, I'm the same way. My wife is. I mean, she's everything. She's tremendous. And like Yvonne never tried to change you, right?
No, not at all, because I never told her what I did for a living when we first met.
Yeah.
I never, you know what I mean? Like when you meet somebody, you're staying in, whatever, and hey, I'm a bongo player. What does that mean? You know what I mean? I remember when I first met her dad, and he was, ruffian old dude from the South, you know what I mean? African American old man, so, how do you plan to support my daughter playing those damn bongos? I told Mr. Hamilton, I'm pretty good at it. I must say myself, you know what I mean? I'm pretty good at it, But it's been, I had to brag on myself. I had to tell the whole family, because, this playing music, and they come from famous people in their lives, you know what I mean? James Ingram dated this one, and it's just, they come from Ohio. So, an old family, you know what I mean? An old black family, they have a lot of roots in America and, whatever, I was just this kid from the South Bronx. I was like, what? You know what I mean? What kind of accent is that? It's a folk accent. But
where in Ohio? What part of Ohio?
You know what? Akron, Ohio.
We're not far from there. We're like, what are we? 45 minutes from there, something like that.
There's a great hat shop in Ohio that called the Hattery. They don't sell stuff online. You got to go there. You know what I mean? But I buy because I have hair. I love hats. You know what I mean? So I have all these hats that I buy at the Hattery. But my father-in-law used to buy hats at the Hattery. You know what I mean? So my wife took me to this place. I was like, oh my God! And I've been to all the hat stores all over the world. I'm all over the world. And that little one in Akron is the main one. That's the one.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's beautiful. You know what I mean?
I gotta check it out.
Standing there in some strip mall that's, that because Akron's going through economic times and all that stuff. But there's that Hattery looking, this bright spot among this gray area. You know what I mean? Yeah, but I love Akron. I love because my family's from there, And it's a small town that's been going through that's that part of, of America. It's hard, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For everybody. But my father-in-law came up from the South, from Alabama, and it brought his whole family and, migrated to Ohio and built a house with his bare hands. Cement,
Wow.
Because, imagine being black in the 60s and trying to get, do anything in America was impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Not because it's hard for everybody. It's because, they throw roadblocks at you to make sure, you know what I mean? So, and man, I told everybody, they got to build a statue to my father-in-law. Because, he passed away also, but he was a giant man, who done great things, even though, people don't realize that it's not always being famous or doing whatever. It's what you do with your family, that counts. You know what I mean? More than even what I do. I enjoy what I do and I bring joy and blah, 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 blah. But, when you come from those, that kind of beginning, that kind of adversity, which I also had too, because we grew up dirt poor in the South Bronx. It wasn't like, we were, it wasn't Beverly Hills, you know what I mean? So, but anyway.
Yeah. My dad was a musician, so we didn't have a lot of money, it was one of those.
Right.
So I kind of get that. And you've accomplished a lot. But ultimately, it's how we treat each other on this earth that's the big factor. The thing that matters most.
Yes, that's 100% correct. Because the joy I find is not watching myself doing what I did. It's watching the young people that I helped do their thing. Like I'm a parent for life, and everybody I see is like my children. You know what I mean? And I want them to do well, whether it's LaRue Nicholson or Elias Stornow or whoever it is, I want you to do well. You know what I mean? Not become famous, just find joy in that little thing. Like I talk about LaRue. LaRue's a genius guitar player.
He's great.
Competitions, If you listen to the record we did, him and Justina Walker did the arrangements. Yeah. These guys ain't full of shit. They're some, heavy duty guys, and like that in America, there's a million guys who are super talented who are never going to get the opportunity because it's just the way it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I feel bad for people. Now they got to fight, modern technology on top of everything else. You know what I'm saying? So
I do.
Not easy.
I do.
Not easy. So
I do, but the modern technology will never have the identity. There will never be a computer that's Gumbi Ortiz. Never, ever, ever.
You're right, but it is a tool. It's kind of like the microwave oven.
Yeah.
So, the microwave oven, I hate cooking. It used to be when I was a kid, we cooked with fire. And then when, we went to visit some relatives who had electric stoves, we were like, how you're going to kill the rice with that electricity. And you need fire. And then from that, it went to the microwave. And then you find uses for these things.
Right.
Now, the microwave is really great for popcorn and coffee, heating up coffee. But you really can't cook a meal on that thing. So I see technology like that. It's a tool, and you got to find the right tool for the right event. You can't use a screwdriver when you need a hammer. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
I do.
Once you understand that about technology, you know what I mean? Whether you're making film or pictures or music, you're going to find that place. You're definitely going to find that place. And, or you won't. And that's on you. You know what I mean? So, but you can't complain. I remember in the 70s when drum machines came out, everybody was screaming about drum machines. Blah, 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 blah. It'll find its place, like everything in life. It'll find its place, you know what I mean? Yeah. The tail will fall off if you don't need it. You know what I mean? We shouldn't worry about it,
Yeah, it's all good. I think you have to keep moving forward. And
exactly. You know what I mean?
If you're accomplished like guys like LaRue, I love LaRue, and he should be more well known than he is.
Well,
in my opinion,
he's exactly where he wants to be. Right.
I know he is. He's very laid back. He puts pictures of his cats up Yeah.
Yes,
You know?
it's like Patrick Bettison, another
Yeah.
genius.
Yeah, he is.
The harmonica, piano. He took, like, when he loved the conga drum. Right, man, with his British accent, what do you do? And I kind of said, well, it's kind of like this and like that. And because he's a musician, a real musician, he took on with it. And you hear him and he writes, and but there's a lot of guys like that.
Yeah.
Who deserve more, but it's what they want. You know what I mean?
Well, that's
and some
the
guys
thing.
want it.
Yeah.
What was that?
Well, you said you played music because you loved it.
Yeah, I love
Right?
the sound, right? Yeah, I loved it. It wasn't about whatever. But when I started playing in bands, it becomes a way to make a living.
It does, but you start out with that, and you start out with it, but I probably believe to this day, you still love sitting down at your congas,
Yeah. No, it's a must. I still do it that way.
Yeah, and it'll take you back to being a kid.
Yes.
That fascination's still there. I know
Also,
this for
but
me.
you never finish learning.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you develop a sound and all that, whatever, but in reality, you have to work at it every day, but not because you're going to play this or do that. No, wrong reasons. Do it because you love it and because you want to get better, just to get better at it. It's like stretching before you walk. We walk and run to go nowhere. You know what I mean? We just exercise and we stretch. And where you going? Nowhere. So why are you running? What's going on? Same thing with music. It doesn't have to be a gig. It could be just you and the love of the sound, or the feel of the hand on the drum, or all these little nuancey, crazy things. You know what I mean? Maybe a fetish. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, I love the way that drum feels, and it's who knows? You know what I mean? I'm not. One day I'll investigate it.
You can tell that you have a great love for it when you are performing.
Yeah.
There's never a time when I have seen or heard you where Gumbi's phoning it in.
Right.
You don't phone it in.
I allow myself to do that. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Every quarter note, every eighth note, every 16th note counts.
Right.
Whatever it is. You know what I mean? And sometimes, you see guys play, big shows, and the guys there playing the tambourine. But I guarantee you, he's loving every moment of that tambourine. Yeah. He's loving it, because it's adding that little thing that the sax section was just sitting down, waiting for the singer to finish so he can go into section B, and this guy, I'm just using that as an example, a triangle, whatever it is, because it brings so much joy. Those little things, percussionists, especially, thank God for Ayrton, the Brazilian Ayrton, who kind of invented the way we all play. And I don't mean culturally, like, Cuban people play a certain way, Puerto Rican people, but what he did was bring everything together. So one guy is playing the chime, the conga, the triangle, and adding bits and pieces, not overwhelming the whole piece with one sound.
Right.
So, and Ayrton did that. He that created that stuff. So, we got to build a statue out of many statues, right? There's Gillespie, Chano Posto, Ayrton, Chick Corea, Stanley Club, Jaco Pastores. It goes on and on. Aldi Meola, what the hell? You know what I mean?
It does. It does. So I have a question for you, because there's going to be some people that are aspiring musicians and such watching this. So a kid comes to you and says, I want to know some of the building blocks of playing Latin music.
Right.
What would you tell them?
The first thing I always tell people that the moniker Latin music is not a good one for me.
Okay.
Because to things that come from Latin America is big.
Afro-Cuban?
Right? No, but let me why. Right? Afro-Cuban is what I do. There's also Afro-Brazilian, there's also Venezuelan, there's also Argentinian tango. Every country specializes in their little thing. Now, the Cuban thing, the Cuban clave, kind of melts into everything. It took over American music. If you don't have clave or the drum, you don't have American music. you have pa pa, ti bi di bi di ti ti, right? So this 8-note clave thing is everywhere. But in Latin music, the reason I say that because when you say Latin, Latin is a language of the Roman Catholic Church.
Got it.
Right? And it doesn't really pinpoint exactly the area that you're talking about, right? Haiti's got his own rhythms, and Puerto Rico's got his own rhythms, and Cuba has his own rhythms, and New York has its own rhythms. San Francisco, everybody has adopted this thing from Africa and made it their own. So what I do is Afro-Cuban bass, like you were saying before.
Yeah.
It's based in the Afro-Cuban clave. You know what I mean? So if you start in the beginning, ka ka kun ka ah, pa ka ah, and I'm singing in between the beats. Because if you don't, it's just this. Shaving a haircut. 2 bits. So when I sing in between it, your little bell part, little conga part.
So that's what we call the 3-2, right?
Yeah, the 3-2, but there's really only one clave. It's not, people do that because I don't know why they want to complicate it. So
They call it 1, 2, 3, right?
Yeah, because it's just played on the other side of it because it's a 2-bar phrase. One, so the clave is telling the bass player, the montuno, which is the piano vamp, which way to go in terms of the 2-bar phrase. So you start or just telling you where the montuno and the bass is coming from. You know what I mean? So it's not really one clave. People like to complicate it, so they can make money in Berkeley. But it's only one clave, And then from the clave, you learn the kata rhythm, which is the cousin to the clave. That becomes that. Those two things together. And then there's rhythms on the conga that go with that. So you need a teacher. You can get some of these ideas on YouTube. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's if you're around drummers and around good people, they'll give you the information. But I always tell kids when they come up to me, they go, oh man, that question you pose, and I tell them, hey man, do you have a swimming pool in your house? Oh yeah, because I said then. You're not good for this. You're never going to be hungry enough. You already have these things. You have air conditioning. You drive your mother's Tesla. You have all these things, trappings. Now I'm babysitting you. Fuck you. You know what I mean? Go out there. Go out. You guys, you know what I mean? I mean, the way I learned where I come from, you know what I mean? Otherwise, you're just a snotty kid, you know what I mean, who's dabbling in the culture. Hey, let's have some spaghettis on Wednesday, and then Korean, whatever. Why? I have rice and beans every day. I don't eat nothing of why, because I'm true to who I am. You know what I mean? It's fried chicken or fried fish. Black beans, red beans, white rice, yellow rice. It don't deviate, you know what I mean? So I tell people you have to immerse yourself in the culture, Learn a little bit of the Spanish language, Learn a little bit about the culture of what we call Ifa or Santeria, which is kind of like this synchronized religion with the African religions where the saints, nature, right, each has a deity, and those deities have a chant, and those chants have a rhythm. And that's part what makes this Cuban music Cuban. It ain't just do. You know what I mean? But you got to study that. You got to go to the South Bronx or to wherever, to Cuba, to Havana, to Puerto Rico, wherever, and learn. You got to immerse yourself. You can't learn to swim without getting in the water. You know what I'm saying? You just can't do this in the air. I'm ready. No, you're not. Got to jump in. Oh, the water's cold. Exactly. Can we go to a heated pool? No. You know what I'm saying? You gotta get wet. You gotta go through it. You know what I mean? It's like when you're born. It just doesn't happen. You gotta go through this birth canal and it's nasty. You know what I mean? It's smelly and your baby's born and it's naked and this thing's attached and it's If you don't go through that, you're not. You know what I mean? You have to go through
I
that.
do. I do. And
Yeah,
which
so-
is what we were talking about before, that you play by instinct because of all the influences you've had throughout your life.
Right. That's the main, right, that pushes you. But you do, I mean, it doesn't hurt to know music theory. It doesn't hurt
Oh,
to
no,
know.
Scotty.
Because, you know, you got to be able to communicate, right? If you're playing with some guy in Chicago from the symphony orchestra and then they write it out, you got to be able to understand. You know, that's a way of communicating. You don't need it. You could play out there like the great ones, you know, George Benson and whoever. These guys don't read, and you know what? They play their asses off. Because, you know, there's sentiment. And you're buying, you're dancing, you're listening to sentiment. Not a note on the paper. But the note on the paper does allow you to communicate to other musicians your idea.
Right.
That's what that does. So
It
if
does.
you look at it from that point of view, you're good to go. You know what I mean? But half the time, you know, like Al will come up and we're in a recording session and he's giving out charts because he loves charts. And so, you know, one day he gave me a piece of paper and he puts it on the thing and it said, "Good luck." That was
No kidding.
good luck. I'm like, what the fuck's that mean? You know what I mean? Good luck, you know. But, you know, I'm just trying to make the point that, you know, all those things are important. But, you know, your sentiment, your culture, my culture, because I don't know what somebody's culture is. If you come from another culture and you want to adopt this culture, you know what I mean? You know, it takes a lot of work, a lot of effort, and you got to move to Cuba, you got to move to Puerto Rico, you got to move to the South Bronx. You just can't phone it in terms of learning. You can't learn this at some school of higher learning. You can't. You got to immerse yourself with crazy guys with scars and, you know, really. You know, I've had bands where half the guys, they had, you know, rough records. And I don't mean CDs. I mean just, you know what I mean? Like, you know, God damn.
Yeah.
You know? So, but that's the real deal. That's life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not that sanitized thing that we want it to be. You know, it smells, it's tasty, it needs to be messy. And from that comes this beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying? Not the other way around. You know what I mean? When it's all beautiful, wow, you know. But no.
Yep.
I tell guys that all the time. You want to learn from me? You know, it's kind of like that wash on, wash off thing from that Karate Kid movie. You know what I mean? Gotta come to my house, let's eat some food. Hey, help me take out the garbage, blah, blah, blah. You know how to say stupid in Spanish? I'm gonna tell you. What's your name, Joey? That's how you say stupid in Spanish. Hey, Joey. Now you're stupid. You know, so it's kind of like, you know, you break them into the street thing, you know, because that's what it takes to play. It's a bit of street. There's not one guy that I know that graduated from what school that after he graduates, he's got to go and move to New York, in some place in New York City, and learn the streets. Because the streets is where the flavor is.
Right.
You know, the streets, you know, the flavor don't come out of a school. You could sit there and do. I remember me and my brother went to see Tito Puente at Carnegie Hall. It was the weirdest thing. So we got the tickets, 1970, whatever it was, you know, they recorded it. And we're sitting there, and there was, you know, the great Tito Puente band with bata drum, the, you know, ritual drums from the culture, and this whole bit. And they were there, dressed in suits, playing this music. It was the weirdest fucking thing. It's like, not that it didn't belong there, but now it took away from the, you know what I mean? You know, the best barbecue is done in a place where it's a little, you know, suspect.
I understand.
You know, the cook is missing a tooth. He's sweating. You know, there's something about that. You know, it's just, and I come from that. You know, so I don't want to.
I understand.
Like, you know, I'm just saying. You know, those South Bronx. You know.
No, I get it. Although I did love Tito.
Everybody loved Tito, but I was talking about like you know what I mean. It's kind of like. There's a thing in English.
No, you're talking about the venue, the way he was presented in the venue.
Yeah, the venue is unbelievable, right? You know, blah, blah, blah. All that is amazing, no doubt. But there's something about losing the flavor, even though they played their asses off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you know.
You'd have rather heard him out on the street corner playing that stuff.
And there's videos of Tito playing in the South Bronx in the street, and the band is kicking ass, and Tito's sweaty, because he comes from that. He doesn't come So I get it. They're trying to move the culture up and, highbrow it and become this and learn English. And I get all that. Simulate, whatever that is, you know what I mean? But there's something, like the smaller the room, the bigger the party. It was the same when I was a kid. We do after hours at 6:30, 7:30, and these days, and vampires would come in. You don't even know they were men, women, animal. You don't know what these people were. They were just coming in at night, and we, little kids, 14, 15. Me and my friend Jimmy Lopez, I love Jimmy Lopez, great piano player, kid from the Bronx, who I grew up with, and we used to play all these after hours, every crazy gig that you could think of where we made our bones, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We didn't just, graduate from school and then take the train, then they did this and did this and did that, you know what I mean? We were that dirt. You can't plant a tree in the air. It was never, It's gotta go in the dirt. And you gotta wet it. And then you gotta stamp on it and make mud, you know what I mean? It's just the way it is,
Which is why you are the real deal. You're the real deal, man. You are.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way you see it. I don't see myself as anything other than what I am, right? A guy with a pimple, or that guy. You know what I mean? I owe money. You
are that guy. You're Gumbi Ortiz, and you're the only one on planet Earth. And what a wonderful and unique and gifted guy you are, and you're a real gift to the people that get to be around you.
Thank you for saying that. Really, thank you. I appreciate that. But I hopefully people could grab my baton, because I'm ready to give my baton to the next generation. I don't want to be, you know what I mean? Running the hurdles with bad knees. I want to give the baton to the next generation, and the next generation is already out there and they're capable. They're out there and they're kicking ass. My problem is that there's not enough opportunity or venues, record deals, for that talent, for them to go and make a living. Because it's not about your talent or your music or your culture. Because that you do for free.
Yeah.
But you got to make a living. You got to pay that light bill. And you can't go in there, man, I'm Puerto Rican, and I love fried foods. I can't pay my bill, but no. The guy said, you know what? Fuck you, pay me. You know what I mean? They don't care. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
So that's my problem now, is how is the next generation of great players going to go out there and do it? You know what I mean? And I was lucky. I always tell people I was lucky. Wasn't anything but that, could have been, whatever the intervention. I get it, and I'm thankful. But it doesn't happen to everybody. This is why I go out of my way to help whoever, help the old lady across the street.
And there's a certain amount of good fortune in it, but again, you were prepared. Prepared. So if you hadn't done the hard work and studied and done everything you needed to do to become Gumbi, you would not be where you are or have had the career you've had.
But I am a product of everybody around me. I'm not, I'm not the self, that Adam we were talking about. I am a product of my sisters, my brother, my this, my that, my cousin, the guy I don't like, the guy who I do like. All that makes who you are. It makes that soup. You know what I mean? Yeah. And without any one of those ingredients, it's not going to be the same. You know what I mean? So I'm grateful for all that,
Yeah. Well, again, it's all of your life experiences, musically and just everyday living.
Yes. And that happens on the road. Like when I'm on the road, I'm in, wherever I'm at, I'm in the streets. You know what I mean? I'm looking for this and that. I'm looking, I'm out there. I want that smell. Where no matter where I'm at, I could be in Lebanon, or I could be in, in Hungary, or I could be in Turkey, wherever, Spain, wherever. I'm looking for that street. You know what I mean? I don't want to sit in the room. I can't afford to watch TV. I'm going downstairs and, find my people, whoever they are.
Let me ask you this. What's your future look like at the moment? I mean, you're still out with Al?
You know what? Al's going probably through a transition right now where we just finished an electric thing that I didn't do because I was home with my parent. But I don't know what he wants to do. I don't know if he's going to make another record, and that's on him, right? I mean, he's had an illustrious career, and he's doing his thing. And if he does another electric thing and wants you to go, I'll go. But if he doesn't, that's okay too, because I love him to death, and I think, his genius is. He's been right here, and I've been right here looking at it. Nobody knows it better than I do. You know what I mean? Like, wow, this is unbelievable. You know what I mean? But besides that, I'm finishing Alan's new album, helping out my friends in the Black Honky Band locally, Brother Phil and the crew, so I love those guys, you know what I mean? And we have a lot of fun playing what we do and just practicing. What I always do, eating and having a good time and finishing the soccer games because I love soccer. And so, but long range plans at my age, I live, 1 year at a time.
I get it. I get it.
In 5 years, I don't have that kind of mountain, with all due respects to John F. Kennedy, I'm not that guy, So I'm always content and happy right at the moment where I'm at. I don't want to be better or to get worse. I don't think of life in those terms. Wherever I'm at, I'm good. I'm really good. You know what I mean?
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So
now I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
Am I going to be able to get you to play some percussion on some of my stuff?
Yeah, just send it to me.
Okay.
Yeah, just send it to me.
All right.
It's mic'd up. Everything's ready to go. Yeah, look, there's stuff over here, the stuff over, it's ready to go. So whatever it is, just send me something.
I had Mike MacArthur and Ron Reinhardt play on the last thing, but I did most of it myself because I was recovering from my surgery. I would love to get you on the next round of stuff.
Yeah, whatever. You know what? Just let me know. It's not a problem. You know what I mean? That's the easiest part. You know what I mean?
Good.
Hear a track and do my thing. You know what I mean? Because, I've learned how to listen and see where I'm needed and where I'm not needed. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You just can't force the sound or your culture or whatever you think, whatever it is, you can't force it. You got to find the right places, the right nuances for it,
That's your instinct. That's your instincts, man. That's your thing. That's
a little bit.
I would love to have you on some stuff. I wanted to ask you about what hobbies do you have besides music? What do you like to do?
I don't really have hobbies like that, and I don't see it as music as a separate thing from myself. Drumming is part of myself, right? So I don't. But I'm trying to think hard at like what I do, what my wife wants me to do. You know what I mean? Like gardening. I help her with the gardening, and so I don't have I love gardening. I don't think about it that way. So I love to drive. I don't have those hobby things like that. I like to write music. I like to, everything's around, doing my craft and just resting. You know what I mean? There's no other, maybe fishing with my grandkids. You know what I mean? Catching a fish and watching their little faces light up. You know what I mean? And they make fun of me and call me old and everything. So, that kind of thing. Just watching other life.
I understand. I'm very much the same way, other than the fishing, because I don't have grandkids. But unless I'm doing something with my wife, it's just all music stuff.
No, I'm just like that. After this, whatever this is, it's the wife and family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
right.
And also I've had to learn to do that because sometimes you get on stage and people clap and whatever, and, you start breathing your own air. And I've had to learn through many years of trial and error how to deflate myself from that hot air. You know what I mean? Yeah. So when I come home and my wife, for sure, is the king of deflating. Not in a bad way, you know what I mean? But she's like, I'll come up and I'll play her a song that I wrote. I said, look at this, and I did this, and I did. She goes, God, that's great. The front yard needs mowing.
There's always that. Yeah. There's always taking out the garbage.
There's always taking out the garbage, which I'm very good at. I'm very good at it.
Well, I'll tell you what, Gumbi, thank you so much for hanging with me. I'm just so blessed that you said yes, and I think the world of you. I met you years ago playing with the Reinhardts.
Right.
When I was playing it, I think it was LP's Pub is what
LP's
the place
Pub,
was.
exactly.
Who London Phil, he's a great guy.
Yeah,
and I met you, and I was like, this guy's super cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know what happens is that, my special upbringing, because I call it a special upbringing, and surviving that South Bronx thing, I hope that I can give that to people. I want to give it to people like, here, try to survive, but do it like this, Not like me, but, put yourself in that position, because people whine and complain about many things now. And when I look at them, I don't see where the problem is. I go, what is your problem? You want my life when I was a young man? You know what I'm saying? And and people who know me, Ted Shoemate, the great Ted Shoemate, who I love mentioning Ted. Ted knows the trials and tribulations that I went through my whole life to get from this point to this point. You know what I mean? And I worked with Ted, and I played with Ted, and because of Ted, I met a lot of great people, Jeff Berlin, or and all these great people that I've done. But he's one of the few people that know. Or like Kenny Walker. All these great guys that are Fred Johnson, of course, who I love dearly, we've all gone through shit together. You know what I mean? And you come out the other side, now we're old men. I was telling Kenny early this morning, I said, we're now like those old guys we used to watch. You know what I mean? Like we're those guys now, you know what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. You may be calling yourself old, but there's a lot of young guys that would have trouble keeping up with your energy level, man.
Thank you. It's called a nap. That's what it's called. It's called napping. I ain't gonna lie.
Naps are good, but once you're doing your thing, man, you're like a little percussion tornado. It's like all this energy coming out at you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's not nervous energy because I'm not a nervous person.
No. It's a good thing. It's controlled abandon.
Right.
And I think you are like controlled abandon. So you have this thing. It's like you're like right on the edge of being like
insanity.
Right on the edge, but
the third rail, like we say in New York, the third rail, that train, right there, I've learned how to pull back though,
It's a great thing, and it hits everybody like boom. It's great. It's
Thank
great.
You, man. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate you. Send me that track.
I will. So Gumbi, listen, I wish you and your family just continued blessings.
Thank you.
And I hope that you just enjoy what you have accomplished, and you've spread a lot of joy for people for many, many years. And I hope that it's just flowing back to you in, massive amounts.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate you, man. Back at you, man. Back at you. And send me those tracks.
I will. I will. You are awesome. Thank you, buddy. All right. Well, Gumbi, he's the greatest. And tons of energy. He's just great. Now you see that I couldn't edit. I just couldn't edit because I didn't want him not to be himself. So I love him just the way he is. So I'm going to go back to the chat and say hello and see what we got going on here. I'm not sure who's still with us. These are lengthy, but they end up being as long as they are. I don't want to cut a whole lot of stuff out, which is why I broke Jamie Glazer's interview up into 2 nights, because there was so much to talk about. But Anyway, thanks for sticking around, those of you who hung the whole time. Wayne, you're still here. Oh, yeah. Alan. Actually, he's hilarious. He's hilarious. Thanks, Scott. Katie's still here. Sage is here. She was making some dinner. It's done. Thank you for listening, Sage. Wayne is still here. Kay is here. Candy's here. Amanda's here. And I think Amanda, I think you said you were Puerto Rican. So that's the thing I want you guys to know. And I know Katie, I think Katie, if I remember correctly, she said she's like 28 years old. Right, Katie? Am I right? So just so you know, everybody is welcome here. Everybody. All God's children, as we say. So I am appreciative of the people, the great varied group that we have here. Different ages, different sexes, different nationalities. Just remember, we're all the same. We really are. We may have been born in different locations. We are one. So, my opinion, dealing with studios, I've heard about many negatives, but it's better to deal with studios or deal with being an... So is it better to deal with studios or deal with being an independent musician? Well, studios are, if you find a great studio, nothing beats it. That being said, I have my own studio. I record my own stuff because I can, because I worked in studios for many years, but also there's a cost thing involved now, right? So it's really expensive to go to a large studio. It's tough because the large studios have fallen by the wayside, many of them, and things have changed so drastically that a lot of people do work out of their homes. But if you find a great room and you can be in a room with a bunch of players playing at once, I don't think anything beats that. I don't. I work the way I work at the moment because I have serious budget constraints. So if I didn't have budget constraints, it would be done differently. But it just is the reality of life, especially nowadays. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. I hope that answers your question, Amanda. William is here. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you. Gumbi's great. He's just great. What are you going to say? He's an icon, and he's wonderful. And every time I'm around him, I laugh a lot. And he makes great music. And how about that party? Who would not want to be at that party that I showed at Gumbi's house? That is incredible. Okay. You get the budget constraints, Amanda? Yeah. Again, if you can afford to go to a big studio and do it that way, but it has to be a good studio. There are a lot of places that have large rooms and such, but a lot of it's in the engineer's hands. So if you get a great engineer and a great room with great musicians, you are golden. Okay, back to the chat. William, you're in Cleveland. All right. We're not too far from Cleveland. I think we're about an hour and 15 minutes. I want to go there. I haven't been there in years. Oddly enough, my dad used to take us to two hot spots for vacations. One was Johnstown, PA, and we would go to the Flood Museum and watch films on the Johnstown flood. So that was fun. And then we would go to Cleveland. And that's when Cleveland wasn't too cleaned up when I was a kid. It was rough. Lots of dead fish on the beach and that kind of stuff. But now we want to go to Cleveland. I want to go. I haven't been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame yet. I want to do that. And my wife really wants to go, and I want to go too, but she really wants to go to the house where A Christmas Story was filmed. It's in Cleveland. That house, you know, the Red Ryder BB gun. You'll shoot your eye out, kid. That one. It's in Cleveland. And I made the mistake. I was recently on a sports show of all things. A guy here, John Batcho. They call him Mr. Sports, and he had me on. And I called them the Cleveland Indians, but they're not the Cleveland Indians anymore. So, you know, it's hard for me to let go of certain things. Okay. Let's see. Any other questions? Katie said you love that movie. I do too. I could watch it over and over. That and Groundhog Day, of all things. I can watch them every time they're on. And Katie, did I see you say that as a 28-year-old that you like the Three Stooges? Because if you said yes, you scored major points with me and Scott Jackson. Scott Jackson and I were talking about this. His wife and my wife both love the Three Stooges, but most women do not like the Three Stooges. They think they're stupid. So I knew I had to marry my wife when I figured out she loved the Three Stooges. That's really not what sealed the deal, but it was actually a very big perk, I might add. The Marx Brothers, Wayne. I do too. I do too. I went to see A Night at the Opera when I was a kid. That one, it was great. Marx Brothers. That's great stuff. William, you live a few minutes from the Christmas Story house? Oh man, you got to get some pictures of it and send it to us. Katie said she was introduced to them in drama class in high school. No kidding. Amanda loves the Stooges too. There you go. See, there's all kinds of great people here. Scott Jackson and I had a major conversation about the Stooges and women. How most women don't care for the Stooges. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I'm not bashing women who hate the Stooges. It's a rarity when I find women who love the Stooges. So I'm seeing a few on here, and I know my wife does love them, and Gina Jackson loves them. So it's all good. It's all good stuff. Brian Gerard, are you still here? Mike Panich. Mike Panich. You joined late. Winter Park did progress. Okay, I'll go back through that because I think Katie missed it too. So, yes, this week, Smooth Jazz Top 100, it went from 92 to 88. Went up 4 slots. Started at 97 2 weeks ago. So it's gone up 9 slots in a couple weeks. The bigger jump was in Spain, Latin America. I was at 100 last week, and I'm at 83 this week. So I'm very pleased with that. I'm grateful, really grateful. I'm grateful for any of this because, as we know, or as you guys probably know, back in 2021, I wasn't sure what I would end up doing or what I was going to end up having left. So grateful for all of it. Really. Abbott and Costello, Amanda, check it out. So my wife and I adopted some cats years ago. We went to the Humane Society in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We wanted to get one cat. One. We go there, and there's these two brothers in a cage. They're little, they're tiny, they're cute, and we were going to get one. And Kay said, what are we going to do? How are we going to choose? And I said, we're not. We're taking them both. We took them both and named them, Amanda, we named them Stan and Ollie. And if you look at my CDs, my publishing company is Stan and Ollie Songs. So yes, love Abbott Costello. Had two cats named after them, and my publishing company was named after the two cats. So there you go. They were great cats, but they unfortunately lived to 12 and 12 and a half. But they were really cool. They were both kind of orange boys and sweet. Stan was more tan, probably because it rhymed with his name. But he was from the same litter, so he was kind of orange, tannish orange. Anyway, let's see. Sage is very cool, by the way. She's real sweet. Very nice. Very, very nice. So, Mike, thank you very much, Mike Panich. But I did see you say that Kay was the better half. And you're right. I did see you say that. But you're correct. I say it all the time. My wife was temporarily insane and married me. I tricked her. Yes. Kay said Stan and Ollie were awesome. They were. One of these, you know what? I'll find a great picture of Stan and Ollie and I'll put it up on one of these live streams. They were the greatest cats. They were so cool. How did I meet Gumbi? I was playing at a club in Florida. And I was kind of the featured artist that night. And I had a rhythm section with Ron Reinhardt, who was my second interview, because Mike MacArthur was the first interview. Second interview, Ron Reinhardt. And he was really funny. Great keyboard player, and a great friend. So it was Ron, his brother Dave, playing drums. He's a fine, wonderful drummer. The great Tim George on bass guitar, and myself. We were playing this club. It was really cool. It was packed. Great crowd. LP's Pub, London Phil. He's an English guy that's so cool. It was his place. And Gumbi showed up. He showed up there. And I knew who he was because I knew very well who Al Di Meola was. So I was like, man, there's Gumbi Ortiz, and he ended up being the coolest guy. So I've known him since then. So that's how many years ago? I don't know. I'm going to say maybe 12 years ago, something like that, maybe. But that's how I met him. And I'm so glad he was on here this evening. Okay. So do we have any other questions? Hey, you know what? You're here. I got to tell you about the upcoming guests. And there's a few on here that I'm going to mention that aren't on the list officially. But so Bobby Floyd is on next week, and you got to check out Bobby. He's so soulful. He plays Hammond B3 and piano and has had an incredible career. He's a sweet guy and just a stellar musician. I'm just telling you, soulful as soulful can be. After that, the great Don Alico Jr., formerly from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, lives down in the Nashville area, we'll say. Great saxophonist. We've done some work together over the years. Wonderful guy. His dad's a musician. His dad's at 96 years old and still playing. Is that amazing? Don Alico Sr. And he's a wonderful person, but he's still out there playing. After that, Paul Thompson, PD Bass. He has a YouTube channel. It's really excellent. So if you get a chance, check it out. Paul's a great player and a nice guy. and he will be on. And then Gary Talley from the Box Tops, My Baby, She Wrote Me a Letter. Great song. And Gary is the original guitarist, and he's a wonderful guy, wonderful musician, wonderful guy. After that, Marino, he wears a bag on his head, I kid you not. And he has a song called The Devil in Disguise. It's got 30 million views the last I checked. There could be more now, but he's amazing. He's going to be on. Then after that, the order of these two could switch. But Rob Parisi, my friend Rob, I finally got him to say an official yes. He is the guy that wrote Play That Funky Music, White Boy. Play That Funky Music, White Boy from Wild Cherry. The great and wonderful, my friend Rob Parisi is going to be on. Then after that, this guy could, as they say, this guy could sing the phone book, and it would sound incredible. John Pagano, the lead vocalist for Burt Bacharach for 26 years. And he's done his own thing too. An amazing singer and a super nice guy. Thank you to Scott Jackson for hooking that one up. So that's what's coming up. And I have another one that is not on here. I just spoke to him yesterday. Well, actually, we spoke by text yesterday. We spoke by phone a couple days before that. His name is Will Donato, and he's a terrific alto saxophonist and has his own career in the smooth jazz world and has done incredible work and has had hits. So wonderful, nice man, and I'm going to have him on. And I also talked to Linda Manzer. I know you guys liked Marvin, who I had on here, who built guitars. Well, so, Marvin gets parts, and which is great. He gets incredible parts, and he's really, really excellent at putting all this stuff together. Not many people can do what he does. Linda Manzer is a luthier, so she can build a guitar from a hunk of wood. Okay. She's amazing. She has a shop in Toronto, and she's built instruments for Pat Metheny. So if you guys know who Pat Metheny is, look him up if you don't. And I believe Gordon Lightfoot, I think he was using her guitars. And others, a lot of other people. She makes just primo, incredible instruments. And I've known her for years, and she agreed to be on the show, and she's way cool and very, very skillful. So Linda Manzer's going to be on. And I have some others lined up, but that's it for now. I'm gonna stop telling you at the moment. So that's where we are with that. All right. Oh, Jimmy's here, ladies and gentlemen. Jimmy's in the house. Jimmy, how you doing, buddy? He's a funny and talented guy. I'm glad to see you, Jimmy. Okay. Who would I like to play drums for me? I'll tell you what. Scott Jackson called it. There's a lot of drummers I'd like to have play drums on some of my stuff, or, play on my records. But there was a guy that was in a shot with Gumbi, Dennis Chambers. I'd love to get Dennis Chambers to play. But there's a bunch of them. I mean, I love Vinnie Colaiuta. I love Dave Weckl. I love all kinds of people. I saw an interesting thing. Scott Jackson, if you're still out there. So, does anybody remember a group called Swing Out Sister? There was a group. Wayne, you may know them, but you're younger probably than I am. But they were from England, I think. Swing Out Sister, but they have a song. It was maybe in the 80s sometime. And Swing Out Sister had a song called Break Out. Okay. So I was having a little bit of it was Sunday morning and it was before church for my wife and I. We actually watch a church online. I discovered them, we discovered them when I was laid up with my neck surgery. So we couldn't go anywhere. And so we discovered this church that we really liked. So we watch it. But before church, I got into this thing where I just thought of that song, Breakout. So I started looking up Swing Out Sister, and I found all these different versions of it. And there was one from I think it was called the Prince's Trust concert. And it was so cool because not only was it, I think her name's Corinne Drury, I think, the lead singer from Swing Out Sister, but they had an all-star band that included the guys from Level 42. So Mark King, who's a super bad bass player from Level 42, was playing bass, and Scott Jackson, Gary Husband, was playing drums. He was playing drums, and who has played with one of our musical heroes, Alan Holdsworth. All right. So, any other questions? What is one advice you would tell your younger self? Katie said. Well, Katie, I actually did a program. It's in my Beyond the Strings stuff. And one of the things I would have told my younger self was to be less hard on myself, because I was super hard on myself. And it actually affected some of me, or some of the joy that I had when I performed. Because when I look back at what I had done, and I did a lot of it, I played for a lot of people for many, many years, I beat myself up pretty much after every show because I dwelt on mistakes that I made throughout the show because, I'm just like that type A sort of guy, So I would have definitely told myself not to do that and enjoy every day. Find the things that you enjoy in that day and dwell on those, not the negatives. And I think there's something to be gained from being somewhat critical, because, I'm not going to say you were great, you were flawless, that's never going to happen. I think there's a way you can do things without beating yourself up. And I was famous for beating myself up. I just didn't enjoy as much as I should have, okay? Not that I didn't have fun and I didn't enjoy it, but I'm the guy that would drive home from shows, and maybe some of you other musicians, or even if you have a job, right? If you're working a job and you say, you may have had a day that you had 150 things go right and 3 things went wrong. And you beat yourself up, and you beat yourself up over the 3 things instead of giving yourself credit for the 150 things that went right. So that's one of the things I would have advised my younger self, was enjoy the day, and also don't look back and don't look too far forward. I think it's good to plan. I think it's good to make plans. But the longer you live, I believe you learn that the plans that you made can be changed in an instant like that. So you got to live in the now. You got to be here today and enjoy the very second you're in. Okay? That's what I'd tell myself. My younger self, and I'm still telling my older self this as well. Okay. Any other questions? Let's see. Okay. Yes, Scott. Gary Husband's a bad dude. Not only can he play drums like a madman, but he's a great piano player. Oh, you said that. See that? Scott, I almost got hit in the face with a Gary Husband drumstick. It was at Graffiti in Pittsburgh. He was playing and the stick slipped out of his hand and it whizzed by my left ear so close. I mean, I could hear the whizzing of the stick. I don't know if it hit anybody behind me or not, but just like the Red Ryder BB gun, I could have lost an eye at the hand of Gary Husband. So thankfully it didn't work out that way. But he's a great piano player. Okay. Let's see here. Sorry, my scroller's not working. That sounds like a medical issue. Yes, Mark King, Wayne. I'm a big Level 42 fan. Love them. They have a great band. Mark King. I can't remember the piano player's name, and forgive me because he's really excellent. He's the guy that sings all the high harmony stuff. He's excellent. In fact, he put out a solo record not too long ago that I purchased, but for some reason I'm drawing a blank. What did Gumbi call it when you forgot stuff? I forgot the disease. Let's see. Wayne, did you spell that incorrectly, or were you saying Tony McAlpine? Is that what you mean? Because what you have is Tony McAloyne, which he may be a great musician. I just don't know who that is. But I do know who is Tony. I do know Tony McAlpine. He's a great guitar player. Yeah, you know, Brian, Graffiti was one of my favorite rooms in the Pittsburgh area. In fact, I got to do one of my CD releases there. Okay, Wayne, it was Tony McAlpine. Yeah, he's great. And that's another guy. He plays guitar really well and piano, keyboards really well. So, excellent musician. Excellent. Oh, you saw Larry Carlton there, Brian. Oh, man. Love Larry Carlton. I actually got to open up for Larry Carlton. I was part of the Pittsburgh Jazz All-Stars. And we opened up for, it was an all-star group they put together. It was Larry Carlton, Stanley Clark, Billy Cobham, Najee, and then there was a keyboard player that I can't remember. He was not a famous name. Great player, though. But they did a live CD that tour, but I was part of the Pittsburgh All-Stars. We opened up for those guys, and I got to talk to Larry briefly. I actually had a wedding to play, believe it or not. In fact, the girl that I was playing a wedding for, I knew very well. And when I got the call to do the opening thing, I asked her permission if I could miss the cocktail portion of her wedding, and I would send my father to play that, and then I would come and play the rest of the show, or the wedding, the rest of the wedding, which is a super big deal, right? So she was cool. Her name was Dana. I went to high school with her, actually, and she let me do that. And I got to talk to Larry briefly. I said, "Oh, man, I'm so sorry. I can't stay and listen to you. I have to play a wedding." So I had to run off from that show, and I really wanted to stay and hear those guys. But that was at Station Square, if you guys are from Pittsburgh and remember that. The amphitheater at Station Square. At the time, the stage was right in front of the railroad tracks. All right. Well, any more questions? I do like that name, though, Tony McAloyne. Maybe I'll change my name, Wayne. Yeah. Huh? It might work. Because my name gets butchered. Janflone. If you ever want to say my name, Jan, it's last name, Janflone. Really easy. Italian name that got butchered. There's no J in Italian, so when my great-grandfather came over, they changed it from a CI. So, but it has been crucified over the years. I mean, I've pulled up to marquees and it said Tony Jawbone, the Jam Tones, Janflower, Sandstone. It's the list goes on and on. It's just, and then a lot of people add a syllable. They say Janflone. No, that's not correct. 2 syllables, Janflone. All right. Janflone rhymes with ham bone. That's right. Amanda, your last name is Ridiculous. I didn't know your name was Amanda Ridiculous. You could slap me if you could reach me. Okay. So, okay. Amanda Laguerre. That's a great name. That's a great name. So it's not Amanda Ridiculous. It's Amanda Laguerre. Awesome. Jimmy has a question for me. Oh no, I'm afraid. Jimmy. Be kind, Jimmy. What's the question? What is the question? Okay. I don't see Jimmy's question. Candy, you got to help me out. I don't see Jimmy's question. I did see something else. Wayne said he saw Tony McAlpine with Billy Sheehan and Bobby Rondinelli. Yeah, I'm sure that was killer. Billy Sheehan's another crushing dude. He's awesome. And I don't know Bobby Rondinelli. I know of him, but I don't know his work real well. But the other two I do. Scroll up. Okay. Scroll up. Jimmy, there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of people talking here. Okay, I see Jimmy said old stick whiz. I see that one, but I don't think that's a question. Not that I know of. Jimmy, where are you? Okay, Jimmy said I can say that because I am a drummer. All right. Hey, he said, hey. Have you ever heard of Mel McCullough, luthier from Indiana? Made a lot of instruments for a lot of cool people. Actually, Jimmy, I have not, but I'm going to look him up. That's great. Yeah, I want to check him out. It's what an art it is to make instruments, you know? And even with Marvin. Marvin's an artist. He really is. He's great at what he does, and he knows how to make a guitar feel really good. And that's not easy. Okay. Okay. So I missed the whole thing about the stick whiz. But anyway. Ladies and gentlemen and Jimmy, I guess I'm going to take off, but thank you so much. I enjoy these so much, and I hope you're enjoying the people. I know it's all different stuff, and some of it's jazz-oriented. I have a mix of people coming on. The next few weeks are going to be some jazz people, but I'm a guy that just loves music, so I do have a couple country folk that I'm going to be contacting. And, Jimmy asked 2 questions? Jimmy! Okay. Jimmy, How does it feel to be gorgeous today? What? That certainly was when Gumbi was still on, because it surely isn't me. Oh my gosh. Jimmy, you are. I'm just teasing you, buddy. If there's anybody that can take a joke, I know it's you. All right. All right. I'm blessed by all of you. Thank you so much. I really, really am. And hey, if you get a chance, keep streaming that stuff on my Spotify. All that stuff helps. And if you live if you live in any areas that have a smooth jazz radio station, or you get on the internet and go to some of the smooth jazz radio stations that are on the internet and they are around, request Winter Park, because that helps too. All right? All right. All right. So next week, the incredible Bobby Floyd. Bobby Floyd. He's a bad dude. He's a bad dude. So everybody, you have a great week. Dwell on the good. Dwell on the good. Katie, remember, don't beat yourself up. Dwell on the good. All right? Okay, everybody. I'm so grateful for you, and thank you for making my time here wonderful. Okay.